host, Alexander Constantine. Welcome to our another live stream. This is another special one. It's actually the third episode of the Black Ibis Film Club, where we'll be covering movies. This is actually a special one because this one will be for subscribers only, but the live stream is for everybody. So if you're here today, you're hearing it uniquely for free, but from further on, you're going to have to subscribe and help us out with some financial, give that that owl money to us. So welcome everybody. We're going to be covering one of my favorite movies, Under the Silver Lake. Fisto's logging on right now. He's joining us. I can just see him. He's walking slowly. He's a little bit older than me, so it takes him a while. So I wanted to thank everybody for logging on. I see. Hey, what's up, man? Welcome.
Sorry,
it's okay. I just started.
Yeah.
I just started the live stream to the introduction. Our third movie episode, actually. Our first one was the one I did with Judy, where we did another one of my favorite movies, Lost in Translation by Sofia Coppola. Then we did last week, A Great Beauty. And then today we're doing Under the Silver Lake. And before we go on, I wanted to mention something about these film episodes, okay? I am not covering my favorite movies. Okay, they're all my favorite movies, right? Every movie we're covering is a movie I highly recommend it because I love. But I'm not covering all my favorite movies. There's a lot of movies I love that I probably don't want to cover. I'm covering movies that are particularly pertinent to the discussions we have in the Black Ibis Social Club. So if you listen to the Lost in Translation episode, it's a movie about growing up, belonging, finding your place in the world, Japan, which is a topic we've talked about numerous times. And then very similar, The Great Beauty is a movie that hits on a lot of topics that Fisto and I and guests have discussed over the last year or more. So this movie, though, Under the Silver Lake, might be the movie that covers all of the topics that we talk about, okay? So yeah, this one's going to be one that's specific. In this one, I guarantee that a lot of you guys have not seen. So I know it's going to detract some people from listening or, hopping on. But I think that the reason that is because, it was kind of it's an A24 movie, but it's kind of a more obscure one. And there's some interesting kind of story to it. But let's kind of start with this movie, okay? So Under the Silver Lake was written and directed by David Roberts Mitchell. He only did two other movies, one small no-name movie, which has a cameo in this movie. And then the movie you might know him from, that most people do know him from, is It Follows. And do you guys remember that one? It's from 2015. It was kind of a weird allegory for STDs. And it was a very millennial movie. I don't know. Did you ever see It Follows, Fisto?
I have not, no.
It was a horror movie, right? Well, so this movie's interesting because it came out in 2018. It's an A24 movie. Everybody knows A24. It's the big producing studio. There's a lot of the latest Nosferatu movie was A24. All the kind of the big hipster movies of the last decade or so have been A24 movies. The Green Knight, The Witch, yeah, a bunch of them, right? The Viking one that everybody liked. So this movie was dropped by A24, but then they kind of disowned it. They actually never I don't think they really released it in theaters. They had no advertising for it, just nothing. They just ignored it. And interestingly enough, David Mitchell has not made a movie since this. I don't know. Maybe when you watch the movie and you see what it's about, you might kind of get it. But I don't know. Maybe I'm being crazy. Okay. So what is this movie about?
Too much of the veil. You pulled back too much of the veil.
Yeah. So I'm going to give you two kind of quick intros about the movie. Okay. The first one is your generic, basic vanilla flavor, right? And then I'm going to ask Fisto what he thought about it without any spoilers, without getting into deep, just kind of a generic overview. Then we're going to the real episode. We're going to start going into the real conversation. And please go ahead and all you guys listening, please type away, ask questions, give me ideas. Because this movie, I will tell you right now, it's one of the best movies ever made. And I think that we could probably spend like 24 hours talking about it. I'm actually going to tell you that there's entire Reddit subreddits where people just discuss this movie and go into details. But let's introduce it first, right? The movie 2018, Under the Silver Lake, right? And we'll go into what Silver Lake is and what it refers to. It's about this guy named Sam. I mean, he's a loser. He's a millennial loser. And he runs into a girl. They have like a meet cute kind of, she's kind of a quirk chungus, right? And they have a little meet cute, and he hangs out with her. He goes home, he comes back, and she's disappeared. And then he spends the rest of the movie kind of going down this schizo quest to find her, to get her back. And yeah, that's the movie, right? And it's a really interesting movie because it has comedic elements, very in the vein of Big Lebowski. There's a few references to the Big Lebowski, but it's at its core a film noir set in Los Angeles, like most film noir movies are, and it's a modern film noir that plays with a lot of things, but under the surface, like under the Silver Lake, there's just the movie itself. The surface story is just the tip of the iceberg, and we are looking at so much stuff, which we'll get into. But Fisto, you watched it for the first time today. What did you think about
Yes. Yes, I did watch it for the first time today. Watched it a little bit a couple hours ago, actually. I finished it up. I liked it very much. It was a very Alexandru movie, which is a credit to it. It was very, very, very funny. The comedic elements struck me the most. As far as the story and the setting, it was very easy to follow along. Like, I felt like I tracked. The movie does a very good job of letting you know that you're not in Kansas anymore, especially with that squirrel right off the bat. I thought that was very well done to be like, yeah, this is going to be a little weird.
Right, it's very squirrely.
Very funny. Yeah, very funny. I think if I was from Los Angeles, I bet there's a lot in here that people from Los Angeles would really appreciate. And I say that because the millennial stuff, especially the references to pop culture and the scene that you asked me about earlier today, brilliantly done. Just from, being a fellow loser millennial. It was like, yeah, no, I see what they're saying, and this is very cleverly done. There's one song in particular. I want to see which one maybe you thought was best used in that scene, but there's one song in particular that made me go, "Oh, you sons of bitches!" Got me right in the just undermined everything I've ever known and everything I've ever undermined everything I've ever known and everything I've ever believed about my own generation. And then I think it's funny that at the end of the story, the character, I think, does learn something, and I think he does. Come back to the I think he does come back to the village with a bit of knowledge, which is why he does what he does and why it ends how it ends. And I'll explain why I say that. But I mean, it isn't exactly a compliment to him because, like I said, the movie's very, very funny, and it's because of just how fucking stupid so many of the people in it are. It's just it's hilarious, especially the whole conspiracy that gets unveiled. I'm like, really? Yeah, that actually sounds about right. That sounds about right. Like just because all the discourse on the internet and all the things people are talking about, this thing and that thing and this thing and that thing. At the end of the day, whatever the elites are up to, it's probably something pretty retarded. And it's going to be I'll tell you one reason why what they're doing in the movie is absolutely just pinnacle stupid. And I'm sure unless you know something about the actual reality of Los Angeles, it may not occur to you. And like, that's what I'm talking about. So lots of things to appreciate in the film. Fundamentally very funny. I think it's a fun Los Angeles flick. And I like Andrew Garfield quite a lot. I've seen him in a few things now.
He's a really good actor.
Yeah, he's always an enjoyable guy to watch. It's like pleasant to look at, funny, delivers the lines. He does a good job. He's a star in the making.
There's a lot of pleasant to look at things in this movie.
Indeed. Most of them are boobs. Most of them are boobs, guys.
And butts.
I'm just gonna tell you right now. There are some decent boobs. There are some decent butts. Although they're all attached. They're all attached to BPD girls. So
yeah, but it's very important.
Do it for you.
that right there, that line, that there is a lot of attractive things to look at from a very uh, objectifying perspective, is actually something we can come back to. Now,
Yeah, from a very
before
surface
before I
level.
start, yeah, before I start the analysis, and we'll go through some
Yeah.
points, we'll go through some events, some key scenes. I want to make one note that this movie, I believe, has an almost every interpretation of it is correct in a way. So you're going to disagree with my interpretation. Um, I already disagreed with Fisto just now, and I'll explain in a second, right?
Well,
Now,
you're wrong, so whatever. Go ahead. Just kidding.
right. So uh, the director himself has been asked numerous times. Andrew Garfield has been asked, "Hey, what does this mean? What does this mean?" And he says nothing. He pulled the David Lynch and he says nothing. Right? He says everything's a mystery. Every symbol's a mystery. Every character's a mystery, and figure it out. And he hasn't said anything for the last like 8 years. Right? So we'll get into that in a bit. But what I meant by disagree with you is, yes, you're in a way you're right. It is a funny movie, but it is also a terribly terrifying, scary movie. So on the surface level, this movie is kind of a neo-noir comedy romp almost through Los Angeles. But what this movie is about, fundamentally, in my opinion, is it's about us, me and you, and probably most of our listeners. And what I mean by that, it's about millennials. It is about how the boomer culture has created a artificial world that has drained us of vitality, and we're stuck in it. That it's a nightmare. It's funny, it's ironic, it's filled with like sexy moments, but ultimately we are stuck in this fucking fake ass world, right? That is ultimately fake and gay. And it is really a commentary on millennial nihilism and how we are drained of meaning. Right. So this movie itself, it opens itself up to semiotic reading, and semiotics is the study of symbols and the interpretation of symbols. Right. And this movie right away starts off with semiotics. Now, before I go into that, uh, I have to give some credit to Jay Dyer. Jay Dyer does a bunch of great film analysis, specifically symbolism in movies, and he has two pretty decent books about. They're called. I'll tell you right now. Let me pull them up. They're called Esoteric Hollywood, Sex Cults in Film, which are really interesting to read if you're into that type of thing. And then there's a very famous on the underground kind of world book by this guy named Dave McGowan, who passed away recently of cancer, and he wrote Weird Tales from the Canyon. And Weird Tales from the Canyon is a book that investigates the connection between Hollywood, early Hollywood in 50s and 60s, and CIA Project Mockingbird, and the involvement of mind control and the creation of culture. Now, his kind of theory is that Hollywood is fake and gay, and all the movie stars and rock stars from the 50s and 60s were created in a studio that basically was run by the Department of Defense and the CIA. And, what's the name? The guy from the Doors, his dad was an admiral in intelligence, and, all kinds of mind control stuff. And, all this stuff was allowed because it was a escape valve for the counterculture. It was basically creating fake counterculture, and they controlled the culture, right? I mean, we hear that in this movie later on. Now, it's a very interesting book. It's very much schizoid conspiracy theory, but it all makes sense. If you want to get even deeper, this is a popular book. It's been mentioned in pretty big places, called Chaos, and it's about the Charles Manson murder. It also deals with CIA mind control projects, how Charles Manson was most likely allowed to do his stuff, connections to Hollywood rock stars in the late 60s, like Mama Cass and the Beach Boys and that kind of stuff. So lots of stuff, right? Now, we'll take another step back. Silver Lake. What is Silver Lake? Are you familiar with Silver Lake?
I am not. No.
Silver Lake, for you guys that are not familiar with it, is a neighborhood in Los Angeles. It's south of the Hollywood Hills and east of West Hollywood, right? And Silver Lake's really interesting because, well, it's got a big lake, right? It's great. It's called Silver Lake, but the lake is not really a lake. It's a reservoir, right? It's a reservoir because California doesn't have water. So we pump all our water from Colorado. Now, this reservoir and the water management in Los Angeles was created by this guy, right? Want to guess the guy's last name?
Silver Lake.
No.
No, I have no idea.
Mulholland.
Oh gosh,
right?
that guy.
Which Mulholland Drive was named after. And the whole water and that kind of stuff, the movie Chinatown was all about it. And all those kind of film noir movies kind of all centered around this water fights in the early Hollywood days. There was
I just want to point out real quick. I'm looking at a map real quick, and it amuses me that it's right next to the Elysian Heights.
Right.
Very funny.
So there's all kinds of crazy esoteric. There's all kinds of crazy esoteric occult stuff in Los Angeles, and it doesn't really get mentioned. People that live there don't know any of it, unless you're a schizo like me and you like looked at all this stuff when I lived there. And I spent most of my life there. Now, for a while, it used to be an actors' colony. Silver Lake itself has the highest concentration of very vintage houses in Los Angeles. So its Old Town area is like very historic and very unique, historic, early Hollywood houses. Later on in the 70s and 80s, Silver Lake in the early 90s became the ghetto, right? It became like kind of like East LA, very like Hispanic and Black, very just ghetto place. It was known for gay cruising. It had like early BDSM gay neighborhood, and it had like it was a place where you went to go cruising. Do you know what cruising is?
Yeah, cruising is when you're looking for companionship, right?
Correct. Yeah. So for listeners, you know what cruising is?
It's not always socially acceptable.
Right. It's a gay subculture thing, or used to be. Now it's called Tinder or whatever, right? And dudes used to go in the park, and there were designated cruising spots, and like, hey, they'd meet another dude, and they'd go bang in the bushes or something. Or there was like designated cruising public bathrooms where if you go wait in there, and some other dude came in, well, you did the thing, right? You enjoyed yourself in a homosexual manner, and that's what cruising is. Well, mid 90s, the LAPD and everything started smacking down all that crime, and they beat the crap out of everybody, ramparted everybody, Rodney King'd everybody. And late 90s, you have the magic liberal word gentrification, right? So Silver Lake is the birthplace of the hipster and the idea of gentrification, at least in the popular kind of mindset, because it was the first hipster neighborhood in Los Angeles. And it was the first place to do like cool little bookstores and the little industrial looking taco places. And, that's where you first got your beer, like your IPAs and stuff from. And in the 2000s, which was my era, Silver Lake was already like in its middle age, which is kind of when this movie takes place. This takes place, there's no time limit, but this has mid 2000s vibes of it more than the actual date it was set in, right? And that was where you went to do hipster stuff. It's like flannel and weird guys dressed like pirates and hipster bars that are like dive bars. Everybody drinks PBR. If you notice in this movie, everybody's drinking PBR. And everybody's kind of an artist, but like not in the San Francisco way, but like in the Los Angeles way. And it was a hub of culture, and there was very similar hubs around it, like Long Beach, where I'm from. I'm more than periphery. I'm about 15 minutes away from Silver Lake on the freeway. And we in Long Beach used to kind of be like, oh, go back to Silver Lake, hipster bro. We were like, we're too cool to be hipsters when the hipster thing started like losing its cachet. Anyway, so that's what you have. You have a hipster kind of cultural town. Now it's expensive. Now most people can't afford to live in Silver Lake because it's been thoroughly gentrified. It used to be where you can move there because it was kind of ghetto before, but now it's impossible to live there because it's Silver Lake, and now everyone wants to live there. And 15, 20 years later, it's unaffordable again. So that's kind of the story of where this movie's set and what time period it's set in. right? So, have you ever heard of the idea of Twilight language?
It's ringing a bell, but I'm rusty. So by all means, please educate.
All right. Has anybody in the comments heard about Twilight language? All right, I'll explain it. Twilight language is magical occult language that it's kind of like double speak, where there's messages within
Right.
messages,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So like magicians will double speak, and there's hidden messages and things, right? You get that a lot in David Lynch. Now,
Yep.
this movie is a direct homage to David Lynch movies, and we can point
Yeah.
out certain things, specifically Stanley Kubrick movies, which would be Eyes Wide Shut. I consider this movie millennial Eyes Wide Shut, right? And there's some references to The Shining in this one too, and a buttload of references to Alfred Hitchcock movies. It starts off with an Alfred Hitchcock movie, right?
Yeah.
So there's a
I
lot of
think he has a little
Twilight language in
cameo in
this
there at
movie.
one point too. He has a cameo in there. Well,
Yeah, he does. Well,
at
you
least
see his grave, right?
yeah. That's
So
what I
that,
mean.
and there are a ton of his movies, and there's tons of scenes I can point back real fast. But how the movie, before it even starts, tells us a code. Do you remember what happens when you hit play? What's the first thing you see?
Isn't it Beware the Dog Murderer
Right before
or
that,
Beware the
actually,
Dog Killer? Ah, shoot, I must have missed it.
you see a circle that's a unicorn, a tiger,
Oh,
a snake, and a lion. All right. And you're like, what the fuck is that? What does that mean? Right. It looks like almost like if you were watching it for the first time, you probably assumed it was part of like the logos for the thing, right? But it's not. It stands for unicorn, tiger, snake, lion. If you take the first letters of each animal, it's UTSL, under the Silver Lake, right?
oh,
But what that's telling you is that, yo, motherfucker, this whole movie's a
yeah.
code.
Heads up. Yeah, heads up.
Right? It's telling you heads up. And then bam, the opening scene is Sam. Sam's our main character, and he is standing. You see this glass window at this coffee shop, and it's a real place. The coffee shop is called the Intelligentsia Cafe, which is interesting because it's called Intelligentsia Cafe, right?
I noticed that. I noticed that a couple times, and it made me laugh because of what the intelligentsia is.
Right. And that's a real place
Ah.
in Los
Anyway,
Angeles. There's actually, I believe it franchised later on, because I think there's one in Orange County too. And there's this, barista, and she's wiping this graffiti from the window, right? And it's like, okay, she's telling it, that's the movie's telling us something right there, right? That pay attention to this stuff, pay attention. And what does the graffiti say?
is that the Beware the Dog Killer?
Beware the dog killer. And then it shows you
Beware the Dog
Sam, and he's
Killer.
standing there, and he's just like, oh, I'm just a bum. And he's looking at he's just checking out these girls, the two baristas, and right away you get this loser vibe off of him. So you got this Beware the dog killer. He goes to the bathroom. He picks up an LA Weekly. LA Weekly is a free weekly magazine, doesn't exist anymore, that you get, and it has like concert dates, movie reviews, that kind of shit in it, right? It's like a local paper, a local free zine. They're really popular back in the day in Los Angeles. Back in the day, I mean like 15, 20 years ago, or when I was growing up. And it's got on the cover, you've got Jesus and the brides or whatever, right?
The Zombie Brides? Isn't that what it was? Jesus and the Zombie Brides?
The vampire, Jesus and Dracula's brides. Right?
Oh, okay.
And they're sitting there, and then he goes home, and then you got the first Hitchcock reference, right? The Hitchcock reference is the window, the movie where the guy's spying on people, and old Sam's here.
Yeah.
He's being a pervert, right?
Rear window.
He is checking out. Rear window, yeah. He is checking out his next door neighbor, or across apartment building neighbor, who's this like boomer hippie kind of woman, right? And she is topless, right? She's out there humming around. She's got all these birds and stuff, parrots and parakeets, and she's just like humming, she's humming, singing songs. You're total like hippie boomer woman, right? And he is just perving on her. He is just sitting there like a
Alex
degenerate. Mm-hmm.
Let me interrupt just real briefly.
Sure.
Only because I mentioned it earlier. Before this, when he's walking home, is when you have the squirrel.
Oh yeah, the squirrel. Yeah.
The movie does this nice thing where not only is it coded and it's got multiple levels, but it also has levels that even if you're a complete, moronic idiot like myself, you'll catch and go, "Oh, this isn't quite what it appears to be." Like you said, it's very inspired by David Lynch. The first thing I recognized was this is an incredibly Lynchian film in the way that it exists in the world after David Lynch has done things. Like it can't help but be Lynchian at this stage. But anyway, the squirrel basically does this like belly flop straight to the concrete out of like the middle of the air, real gory and grisly. And then it looks up at Sam with this, with this disembodied kind of unnatural, like, yeah, a squirrel's not looking at you with such cognizance after belly flopping to its doom. So like, that's when it hits you on the head and goes, "Dumbass, this is going to be weird." All right,
this is going to be a weird movie. Like,
yeah. So I just wanted to highlight that. Yeah, I just wanted to highlight that to point out that it is actually quite quite accessible, somewhat ironically. But anyway.
So I actually forgot another important key element. So Sam, when he gets home to his apartment, he's got an evict, like a pay the freaking rent.
Yes.
You got 5 days to
this
pay
is
the
his
fucking
main
rent.
quest. Yeah, this is the main quest for him.
Well, that should be the main quest. You think that's the main quest, right?
It kind of is. But yeah,
he's a millennial. So he's a failure, right? So he's sitting there and he's perving out on his boomer neighbor, but he's talking on the phone to his mom, and his mom isn't also a clueless boomer, right? And she has no
good.
She has no idea.
Sorry.
And she obviously doesn't live in Los Angeles. She's like, "Honey, how's your job?" And he's lying. He tells her, "Yeah, my job's great." He doesn't have a fucking job, right? He's actually from Ohio, by the way. I don't know if you noticed that he's from Ohio.
Oh, I missed that. When did that pop up?
He wears a T-shirt later on in the movie that is it's like a scout leader for an Ohio Boy Scouts thing, and it clearly says Ohio Scout. Right? So cool. Old boomer mom's Ohio. I was like, "You should watch this movie." He's like, "I don't have cable, Mom, because I'm and blah blah." And the whole time he's listening to his mom, but he's just like scoping out this broad right out on the balcony, and then. While this whole conversation is going on, and by the way, his mom wants him to watch a Janet Gaynor movie. Janet Gaynor is a vintage silent film era movie star, and she wants him to watch a specific movie, right, called Seventh Heaven. And what that movie is about, it's a black and white silent film with Janet Gaynor, and that movie is about a regular dude that rescues a woman in trouble, like a richer woman in trouble. Right. And which is that's kind of the theme of the movie, right? And that's when our femme fatale is introduced, right? This super haughty blonde girl, very Marilyn Monroe-ish, right? Who the actress is actually Elvis Presley's granddaughter in real life. Interesting note. Walks out and she's carrying a little Bichon Frise. I don't know if you guys know what a Bichon Frise is. It's one of those stupid like white dogs, And she's your like spitting image of like Hollywood, right? She's just gorgeous, blonde. She's wearing all white bikini. She's got like, like the white sun hat, the white dog, and she's just a smoke show. And he stops looking at the boomer and he is perving on her, right? And she's got these kind of a Quirk Chungus kind of behavioral patterns, and she sees him snooping. And he like hides, and his girlfriend comes over. So he's got a girlfriend. Forgot he's a sinnered pervert, but he's got a girlfriend, right? And remember his girlfriend, she's dressed like one of those beer garden people or something like that. Mm-hmm. And we don't get her name. Even in the credits, his girlfriend's name is just actress, right? which is a clue of how he sees women. Right, he doesn't see them as people. Right, and he's talking to his girlfriend. She brings him sushi. She seems like nice, and then they're boning. Right, they're doing it. Interestingly enough, they're doing it doggy style. Make a note of that for later. Right, but he doesn't even the whole. It's probably one of the least sexiest sex scenes ever because he's not interested. He is boning this attractive woman. but he's like watching a tennis match on TV,
Well, they
and
both are.
he's
They both are.
yeah,
They both know
both are. They're
it's the
completely
it's the least sexiest thing either of them will do all day, and they both know that too, which
right.
makes it even more funny.
It's such a millennial thing, right? And
Yeah.
then you see his house, and all he cares about is like he is the internet age guy. He's our guy in a way. He's got Nirvana, a signed Nirvana poster. Interestingly enough, it's not signed by Kurt Cobain. It's signed by Kurt Cobain's daughter, right? And he's got a bunch of comic books everywhere, and he's watching the news, and there's two key elements in the scene, right? The first one is the narrative element, which is the news comes on and it tells you that a very famous, super rich billionaire has gone missing, and it's got his family, and they're all crying, "Come home, daddy," blah, 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 right? And it's really awkward. And like the girlfriend comments, she's like, "Oh, that's so sad, so sad." Like she's just a big dumbass, right? And then the next kind of key thing, which is the more subtle scene, is they're laying in bed and they just got done having completely like unromantic sex, and he's got this Playboy magazine, and he's just there. It's like out in the open, no big deal. He's got his like Spank mag right next to his bed, and his girlfriend's like, "Oh, this is your Playboy?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, it's my dad's magazine," and it's got like a picture of, a woman underwater, and it's kind of like the motif of the movie.
Upside down.
Yeah, upside down, and he's got no.
It's a little bit like the cover of Nirvana's album.
Right, it is very much like the cover.
Yeah,
with Bean. Her name was Bean Cobain, actually, and that's what she was a little baby. Well, I don't think that was really his daughter in it, but it is very much like the cover of the Nirvana of Nevermind.
Yeah.
But then she kind of like looks aside, and underneath his porno mags, he's got these papers, right? He's got this stack of like crazy papers. It's like scribbles and shit, right? She's like, "What's this?" And he spazzes out, right? And what's interesting about it is that his reactions are very backwards. Most dudes in a normal society, not our brain rotted millennium society, right, would hide their porno magazines, right? But this dude he doesn't care about the porno, the sex, and the consumption. That's like surface level for him. He has no problem. He has no shame of what he consumes pornography and Playboys and all this stuff. What he really freaked out about was his interior life, which was his insane scribbles, right? Which we later learned that it's like his conspiracy theory, like watching Wheel of Fortune. Okay, so it's like
it's when he becomes Mulder. He becomes a Mulder-like character living in that.
Right. Which
it's
funny that you say that, but do you notice that he smokes a red pack of cigarettes that looks like Marlboro? Well, it's not Marlboro; it's called Maury's, and it's the same cigarettes that they smoke in X-Files, and also the same cigarettes that they smoke in David Lynch movies.
Oh, that's too funny. That's fantastic.
But they're not real cigarettes; they're just kind of an ongoing thing, right?
Now, it's because the cigarette smoking. Oh, hold on, it's because the cigarette smoking man actor, didn't smoke, so they had to get him these fake Clive cigarettes or whatever, and that's what he smoked the entire time.
Right,
it's fun.
Right. So I'm over explaining the intro because the intro has so many key elements to it, right? So So then it's kind of over. His girlfriend leaves, and he goes walking. He's walking around. He's walking around Silver Lake, and he stops at the bookstore. He passes Intelligentsia Cafe again, and he goes to the bookstore, and it's the Last Bookstore, which I think it's like a kind of an indie chain. I think they have it in like Seattle also. And he's got you've got your typical like comic book store guy, like the snooty, we talked about this stereotype, right? The guy that knows things. And old Sam is buying these weird like indie comics. And he's like, "Hey man, I really like this guy's work. Do you know who he is?" And the guy's like, "Oh, it's some crazy local guy that does them." He's like, "Well, can I give you like some money and you can like give him my number so he calls me?" So that sets up that scene, and he's reading these crazy black.
Alex, that was the quintessential like record store with the weird guy with the like. Right. That's the podcast vibe right there. Just just so we're clear. I also really
Right.
like that he had the front desk with built on top of the old books. I thought that was a cool
Right.
bit of imagery because it's
Right.
clearly all these probably classic old dusty books, and they're just turned into a counter to sell
Right.
comic books and consumption and all the bullshit. You know what I
Right.
mean? So anyway,
And that's a real place. That's not like a set. The bookstore was not a set. The coffee
of
shop
course
was
it's a
not a
real
set.
place.
They're
It
all
was
real
too cool
places.
to be a set. Yeah, that was too cool to
Right.
be a set. It's absolutely a real place, without a
Right.
doubt.
So then he like the movie cuts, and the movie has really weird cuts where like time is really dilated. Like it's not like you're like, what the fuck has he been doing in the last? Because it's kind of like it's daytime when he's like checking out the girls at the pool, and his girlfriend was there. Then it's kind of still daytime when he goes to the bookstore, and then now it's nighttime, and you see him, and he's feeding the dog cookies, like dog biscuits, right? Like a little dog bones. And he's out there and he sees the skunk, and it's like whatever, and he's feeding like the dog biscuits to the dog, and the girl comes out, the girl from the pool, the hot girl with the white, and he's obviously like, that's what he was trying to do. He was trying to like lure her out in a way. And she goes, oh, do you have a dog? And he's like, he hesitates, he's like, oh, my dog died recently, so I walk around with fucking dog biscuits in my pocket, right? It's like an absurd like excuse, right? And you have what you have next is a very millennial movie, like uh, you know, 400 Days of Summer or whatever, or what kind of like millennial make cute kind of vibe to it. She invites him in, and she's like, "Oh, I like eating orange juice with saltines," right? And they're sitting on the bed, and she's like, "You want to get high?" Like, okay, they're gonna do it, right? They're gonna have sex, right? And they're like making out, smoking weed, and it's very like millennial romance movie. You're like, okay, this is interesting, all right. And her roommates come home, and there's two female roommates, which creates the first trinity in the movie. If you've noticed, there's tons of female trinities in this movie.
Indeed, seems to be a
Right.
core theme of the goal,
Right.
perhaps.
And
Anyway,
the vibe switches. She's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." They watch a movie, right? They're watching a movie, and it's a very old. It's a Marilyn Monroe movie, and she's got, if you guys can see on the stream, she's got 3 Barbie dolls of Betty Gable, Marilyn Monroe, and Lauren Bacall, and they're the main characters in the movie, right? Now, if you notice, there's some really strange writing underneath all these dolls, right? And do you know what that writing is?
I don't know.
Okay, so that
What
writing
is
is
it?
actually the Zodiac code from the Zodiac Killer.
Oh, geez,
Okay,
fantastic.
but we'll get back to that writing,
This
right?
is
What that
this is
it's
the most
about.
Los Angeles movie ever. I love it.
So it's a Zodiac code,
So
right?
good, so good.
So we'll get back to that, right? So she
Yeah.
comes. So the roommates come out. She's got two female roommates, and he goes out. She's like, oh, you got to go. We'll hang out in the morning. Maybe we'll hang out in the morning. He's like, oh, come to the bar with me. And she's like, no, I can't. We'll hang out in the morning. So he goes outside in the living room, and the fucking pirate is there. Right? He's this dude dressed like a pirate, and he's like a hipster pirate, right? He's not like but he's fucking weird, right? And he's like, oh,
Ironic
okay.
pirate. Ironic pirate.
Yeah,
Yes.
ironic pirate, but kind of piratey at the same time. He's not that ironic. He's kind of creepy.
Yes.
So she comes out to say goodbye to him, and I mean he's her neighbor. Right? He lives like right across from this, like upstairs from her, and they see fireworks, and it's like he's like, oh, that's weird. It's kind of late now. Let me give you guys a quick little Los Angeles note. Fireworks aren't really that common in California unless they're like big deal run by like a big company. And the reason is because California is really dry. So they tend to be very illegal in California. Here in South Carolina, I can fucking shoot fireworks all day and it's fine because it's wet and
Yeah,
raining
man.
all the time. But California
Yeah,
is a
same here. Same here.
dry chaparral desert. So they're pretty hardcore about fireworks. But most of the time when you see big fireworks, I mean, you'll see like ghetto fireworks, but when you see like really big fireworks, it tends to be like Disneyland doing them, or they tend to do off the coast in the water. Anyway, so he kind of comments, oh, that's kind of weird. You know, it's not, it's like August, it's late August or whatever, right? And the fireworks kind of upset the girl whose name is Sarah. All right, so right away, craziness. Two crazy important clues. We saw the dolls with the crazy zodiac writing. If you notice that. The other thing is his name is Sam. Her name is Sarah. Now, if you combine their names, Sam and Sarah, you get samsara, which is, you know, a Sanskrit word. It is a key element in Buddhism, right? So you attain nirvana in Hinduism, right? You attain nirvana by exiting the cycle of you know, the flat circle from True Detective, which you're stuck in. We're stuck in the flat circle of eternal return and constant rebirth. And that life is called samsara, a life of meaninglessness and constant return to doing the same thing, right? You don't want to be in samsara. What you want to be is in nirvana, which is exiting that flat circle.
Right.
So it's interesting because he is stuck in samsara, right? He is, you know, he's obviously a loser. He's stuck in like a video game pornography kind of mindset. He's got no money. He's going to get evicted. He's got no girlfriend. His dog died, or he is lying about having a dog, even though he has dog treats, which is kind of weird, right? And now he meets this girl, and he might, maybe, you know, maybe he'll leave samsara, which is interesting that nirvana was a big word earlier in the scene. So she kind of weirded out. And I'm gonna give you another hint, another secret in this part. The fireworks are Morse code. People actually have decoded the fireworks, and
Wow.
it's Morse code for it's time to transcend. And this is the second time in the movie you see Morse code, because if you go back to the first opening scene, half the lines in the menu of the coffee shop are in Morse code.
You know, something I want to highlight real quick. This is very interesting because I love the fact that you're a Los Angelino, and because I know we're going to talk about the occult stuff, and we're going to talk about the symbolism and the code and all that kind of stuff. You know, in a lot of ways, for better or worse, not so much anymore. But I am Sam. I mean, I'm just some bum from Ohio. You know what I mean? I was laughing at the scene when he was talking to his mom because, Mom, I love you, but anyway. So when you see the fireworks as a Los Angelino, you recognize that there's definitely something wrong, and you maybe think that you take an extra step to go, not only are the fireworks, you know, important, but ooh, there's a message, there's Morse code inside it. As an Ohioan, I don't know that the fireworks are the significance to Los Angeles. But when he mentions the idea that, ooh, it's kind of late in the season for fireworks, I immediately know, this is another thing telegraphing that something important, something weird is about to happen. Which then,
right,
you know, as you said, it's time to transcend. It's Morse code because of what
so
is
it's a
about to happen.
message.
Yeah,
It's a
it's
message,
good stuff, man.
or
Very entertaining.
maybe it's a message. I don't know, right? And what does he do next? We have the second big important clue in his personality. He leaves, he walks out of his apartment, and he catches those kids freaking keying. There's a dick on his car, right? He's got this like sweet ass Mustang, right? He's got a total cool black Mustang, and somebody just keyed a giant dick on his car, right? And he looks down the street and he sees these these young teenagers, basically these early teens, egging cars and scratching the shit out of the cars on the street and pissing on cars, which, by the way, is a very similar scene to the Big Lebowski. It has the same kind of film. So what does he do now? Do you remember what he does?
Yeah, he sneaks up and cold clocks one of the kids. Yeah, Spider-Man's his way up and cold clocks one of the kids. It was great.
He beats the shit out of the kid. He beats the shit out of the kid.
Then doesn't the second one come up to try to find out what's going on? Doesn't quite realize the danger, and then he just throttles that kid too.
Yeah, he punches him in the nuts, right?
Yeah.
So he walks up to these kids, and they're they're like 13-year-olds, man. Right? They're like little kids. Yeah. And he just beats the shit out of this one kid, shoves an egg in his mouth, and then he punches the other one in the nuts. And he's just like, he chimps out on him, right? And
Yeah.
he's angry. Now you have this loser nerd millennial, this like Andrew Garfield kind of, whatever, man. I just love Nirvana and watching porn and stuff. But he's got this dark side to him, right? He freaks out, right? And
Yeah.
he goes back home and goes to sleep, right? And I think this is where he has that first dream where he sees the girl by the pool eating the dog on the trail, right?
Yes.
And
well, not just
and
eating
then,
the dog on the trail. It's eating a dead guy, right? And then it like
oh
splits.
yeah, she's
and,
eating
like,
a dead guy. Yeah, very David Lynch.
Yeah. Very, very, very. He wandered into the Black Lodge there a little bit.
Right. So he's
Something
having
funny
a
about the
dream.
kids scene too. I want to share is my wife had to be watching me with it at that time, and I think our response to him beating up those kids was like it was funny because it shows kind of the two ways you could take it. She's like, "Man, that's a great way to get arrested." And I said, "But those children also learned a very valuable lesson."
Right.
Because I'm thinking to myself, if I'm the dad of those kids and I find out what they did, dude, what Sam does, that's half as bad as what I'm about to do. Like, you guys were doing what? Anyway, it just made me laugh, that kind of interaction. Right. But anyway, yeah, go on.
So far, we still don't have the inciting incident, right? This is still the intro of the movie, right?
Not yet.
We know he's a loser. We know he's a sex obsessed loser. I mean, and he can get it some. All right, he's not like he's not a zoomer, right? He's not a zoomer incel. Us millennials can still get some, right?
Yeah, the sex comes to him.
Yeah, it comes to him.
Like, and it just shows up like, oh yeah, hey, what's up?
He doesn't care about it, but he's definitely like obsessed with pornography. We know that all his house is covered in posters and stuff. We know that he's from out of town. He's not a native Los Angelino, and he's kind of a voyeur. He's broke. He doesn't really care that much about the dog thing, if you notice, right? He's like, well, whatever, and he's really sprung on this girl, even though he met her like a minute ago, which is really interesting. Right. And another interesting thing about this intro scene is he does not have sex with her at all, which triggers.
He was gunning for it. He was gunning for that, but it didn't happen.
It didn't happen, and I think that's what led him to beat up those kids. He came out of the house frustrated. He had anger, which I think is also a clue later, right? If we can go into that craziness, right? So next morning he wakes up and he's like, dude, he sprung. He wants to go back to Sarah, and he walks by her apartment, and he like peeks in because he's a pervert, right? He peeks in through her window.
Absolutely.
And her apartment is empty, as in there's nobody there. Like, he looks through, all the furniture is gone, all the stuff is gone. There's just like some trash laying around. It's gone. It's like nobody lived there ever. And he's like, what the, and he goes to like the super of the building, and he's like, and the guy goes, well, maybe she didn't like you. Why would she like a loser that can't pay his rent? And
that character was great because he has that line where he's like, now this isn't anything personal, but in 4 days, you're getting forcibly removed from there. Like, that guy had a very almost like Principal Strickland kind of thing from like Back to the Future or something. Like, you're slacker, McFly. It was just, I loved it.
Right. He's the most normal character in the whole movie.
He really is. He strikes me as one of the few people kind of put together, honestly, in a way, and like he actually functions.
Yeah. He's probably the most real character, and by real I mean like not in a psychotic schizoid millennial mindset. And I keep on saying that because this movie is a millennial schizoid
actual
explosion.
Person. Is he Gen X? Is he Gen X? Like,
or
just
a late
before
boomer.
The madness? Yeah, like young boomer, maybe.
Young boomer, early Gen Xer, right? So old Sam goes back to the apartment, and he does what every voyeuristic pervert would do, right? He breaks into the apartment.
Absolutely.
He breaks in.
First thing to do, break in. Absolutely.
And he goes to the closet. And he finds like a shoebox, right? Or a doll box, one of those two. And he's looking through it. And the first thing he pulls out is a pink dildo. And he like hesitates, and then he sniffs it. He fucking sniffs it.
The
right?
sniff is just It's perfect. It's
Right.
those little subtleties that make me appreciate Garfield as an actor.
Well, then now some rando chick walks in, so he hides. He
Right.
like
Yeah,
gets
yeah,
out,
yeah.
and she looks around, and she's a super hipster, right? She's got the hipster headband and everything, and the booty shorts, and she's looking around, and she like grabs the rest of the stuff, puts it in a Trader Joe's bag. I don't know if you noticed that, a Trader Joe's bag, which is very California, right? And
Fuel of the hipster Californian.
yeah, she puts it in the Trader Joe's bag and she leaves the apartment. And as she opens the door, you see the two diamonds, right? The two diamonds, which is the little symbol I posted on
Yes.
Substack.
Yes.
He jots it down real quick. And so he does what every sane dude would do, right? He follows her. Now,
Yeah, of course.
she goes across the street, meets up with two other girls. Oh, Trinity number 2 in the movie, right? So we had the first Trinity, which was Sarah and the roommates, and then you have this Trinity of these girls and these two girls, right? So, and they get into a car. So what does he do? Well, he hops in his car and follows them. Now, what car was she driving?
Oh, yes, she was driving a Volkswagen Cabriolet.
What's the other
Is that
name?
what it was?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. But what is a name for that car besides the Cabriolet?
Got another name?
It does. It's the Rabbit, a Volkswagen Rabbit.
The Rabbit. Oh, those are the same thing. Okay. All right.
Right.
Yes,
They're the same thing. A Volkswagen Rabbit and a Volkswagen Cabriolet are the same thing. So what color was that car?
Bright white. It was
so
white.
What was he doing?
He was a black car following a white car.
He was following the White Rabbit.
Yeah, there it is. Following the White Rabbit.
So he goes on this insane trip where they look at the baseball sign. The baseball sign gives him an address. The address takes him to this lake. My dog's crazy. The lake, they do this weird little like swim across, like little paddle board across the lake. They hand the bag, the Trader Joe's bag, to the pirate that comes out of like from behind the tree and then runs away. They get back in the rabbit and he's following them. So he's following the White Rabbit and he's following them for like an entire day. If you like catch the time strips.
Yeah. It's funny. I feel bad because it took me a minute to put together the White Rabbit bit, but it's because I have to tell you, like I mentioned in chat, my old youth group leader back in high school had a bright yellow Cabriolet, and watching that entire scene, I couldn't help but think of it, and just like the implication, being a much older man than I am now. Maybe he was just a stupid 30-year-old guy who thought it was funny to have a silly Volkswagen car. But then I see it in a movie like this, and I just kind of go, oh no, what was going on there? Anyway, so I was a little distracted in that scene because I couldn't help but keep laughing.
Well, right.
But anyway,
it didn't dawn on me until like this morning. I've seen this movie like 5 times. I'm like, oh, they're following.
He's following the White Rabbit. Son of a bitch.
He's following the White Rabbit, and where's he going?
He's
gonna get out
of the
Purgatory. She takes him to. He follows the White Rabbit to Purgatory. So he goes to this rooftop bar, which is straight up out
over your head at this point.
Yeah, eyes wide shut kind of scene. And the first thing he walks in, there's these weird women, and there's loud music playing, and there's these weird women, and they're holding these cherries, and the cherries are like pin cushions, and they give him a pin, and she goes, use it wisely, and he puts it in his pocket. And it's a hipster bar. It's obviously a nice bar. It almost reminds us of the last movie we watched, the Great Beauty. Bunch of hipsters everywhere, and this is where we get introduced to Jesus, right, at Purgatory. All right,
this is such a 90s thing to have this kind of like the picture that you just put up. This is such a 90s thing to have this kind of taking the piss on Christianity.
So you got Jesus.
That's great. Yeah.
Right, like edgy vampire kind of thing, and you got Jesus.
Give me a real Marilyn Marilyn Manson vibe. Yeah, sorry. I'm talking over you.
Right, but more. It actually reminds me of this band called Him. I don't know if anybody's familiar with this band Him. It was kind of popular around the time this movie takes place, and it also has Jared Leto vibes or whatever.
Yeah,
which let's add another layer real fast, right? So Silver Lake. Remember how I told you that there was a movie studio that owned all movie studios run by the CIA, like PsyOps department? Well, guess what that studio is
Yes.
called? Silver Lake Studios, right? Now, to make it even more
No.
interesting, the building, the giant house that it was there, that you can actually see Marilyn Monroe's Department of Defense ID from that era, and all the different movie stars. They still have their DOD IDs because they had to, like, they did these movies for people and like stuff. And so the house is still there up in the Hollywood Hills at the end of Mulholland Drive. And guess who owns that house today?
No idea.
Jared Leto.
Oh no.
And what is he known for besides being a crazy person? Oh, he has a cult in Europe somewhere, right?
Of course.
Oh my gosh, right? Well, no wonder this guy's never made another movie after this. Anyway, right?
He revealed too much. But it's just coded enough that he doesn't. I mean, he's probably been assassinated. Let's be real. Like we think he's not dead, but he probably is.
Right, so you got these guys partying, and like, everything's going cool, and he meets his friend, right? He meets his friend there at the party. He's like, "Hey, what are you doing here, man? Do you remember his friend?" And he's like, "Is that woman's blouse you're wearing?"
Yeah. What's that actor's name? Because he's been in. He plays a role in Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and
yeah, he's funny,
and he's basically he's the only guy where if we need a really kind of creepy dude who always seems like he's on drugs, even if he's not, he's been in some fucking creepy stuff. He's very talented, I think. Him. Yeah, hold on, I gotta find the name here. Hold on, I'm gonna try something. Creepy guy. It's Always Sunny.
What is
it's like the
name?
cousin? Oh yeah. No, that didn't do it for me. Shoot. Hold on.
What's interesting is, like, none of the characters in this movie have.
I'm trying to find them. Keep going. I'll try to find. Yeah, very few of them do.
All right. Did you know that what's her name? Let me see. Do you know that our girl Sydney Sweeney's in this movie?
Yes, I spotted her.
A very young
Jimmy
Sydney
Simpson.
Sweeney.
That's who it is.
Yeah, Jimmy Simpson. Right.
When that guy shows up, it's like, oh no, something horrible is going to happen.
Right. And he's obviously a rich guy, or he's in the scene, right? He's in the scene. He's wearing a blouse. Yeah. And the guy's wearing a blouse. He's like, and
he doesn't even care. It's like, is that a blouse? He's like, yeah, maybe.
Right. And old Sam is just like, oh my God, I'm just like creeping out around here. Right. And now you've seen Eyes Wide Shut.
Yeah.
Have you seen Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut? I feel like he is.
It was a long time ago, but yeah.
He's the piano man from Eyes Wide Shut, basically. He's kind of like the peripheral. He's part of the scene, but not really. He's like a peripheral, kind of guy, right? Now, every scene in this movie has tons of like references to other things, and you can sit there and like, it's almost like David Mitchell, like, just every shot was a reference, like, and like there's hidden clues everywhere. You see a lot of motif of orange juice and all this stuff everywhere. So I mean, if we were to go through it, we'd spend all day, right? But so he's talking to his buddy. So he's talking to his buddy at this like fancy club, and his buddy's obviously like in the know with these people. You got the biggest famous band in like Los Angeles, which is the Jesus and the Brides. And so you're like, well, Sam must have been somewhat connected himself, right? He's not just some like Ohio loser, right? Because he's not like that out of place at this place, right? So there's kind of a clue to what he is really. So he goes, and then he sees the girl. He sees the girl he's been following, and he does the crazy thing and follows her into the women's bathroom. And he walks up to her.
Absolutely what needs to be done.
Yeah, and he pulls out a Polaroid of Sarah, and he's like, do you know what happened to this girl? And she spits on him. She spits her gum in his face and knees him in the nuts. And then she leaves. And these other women come in and they're like, oh, pervert, what are you doing in the girl's bathroom? And they start barking at him. All right, they're barking at him. You got this dog motif thing going on. Right? They're just barking at him like, what the hell, And he just brushes it off and goes back outside. He's like limping around, and then he runs into, well, he witnesses, he sees Millicent, and Millicent is the daughter of the billionaire that's missing. And
Right.
all of
Yes.
us,
Thank you. Thank you.
and all of a sudden, and she's partying, and there's even like a comment like, okay, how can she be out here partying when her dad's missing or whatever, you know? And then all of a sudden, everybody's cell phone kind of goes off, and they're like, the police have found, you know, the billionaire, and he's dead. They found a burning car on Hollywood Boulevard. He was found dead with 3 prostitutes, blah blah blah. And then she like breaks down crying, and it's a very Millicent has a very much the vibe of the one of the characters in Mulholland Drive, the Hollywood serious one, right? And it's the brunette basically. And
Yeah.
you know, this whole scene's kind of weird because he's like, you know, he's doing stuff like this is like, now he's followed, he's, you know, he's obsessed about the girl that he met for like maybe, you know, an hour or 2 hours most. He broke into her apartment. He followed these 3 women all day to this party, and then he busted into the women's bathroom to like kind of accost them, right? And he goes home, and on the way home he gets skunked.
He gets marked.
Right? And
Yeah.
now he's in. I think he's in. He's in the club, right? He's been set. And the next scene, he's like fucking, oh, he's watching the news. He's skunked. He's watching the news. And on the news, it's like a police report about the dead billionaire. And they're like, yeah, we found,
Yeah.
you know, his remains. And strange
Yep.
enough, there was a purse with a dog in it. And they names the breed of the dog, which is the same dog Sarah had. And then the
Right.
police is holding a hat, and it's the same hat that she was wearing at the pool the day before. So he's like, he like freaks out. And then the scene cuts, and he has that fucking crazy dream again. And he dreams of Sarah in the pool, and she's like super hot, like in this like Hollywood kind of way. And she comes out of the pool and she's naked. And it's actually a recreation of Marilyn Monroe's last scene of an unfinished movie. And she died before she was able to finish the movie. And she sits up, looks at him, and he's up in the balcony. He's kind of still peeping at her, and he's smiling. And she starts barking at him. And then he wakes up.
Of course.
And then he has that scene. We move into that scene where he's with his girlfriend, his real girlfriend, the one, but now she's dressed as a nurse, right? And he's sitting in a tomato bath, which I know Lisa Kuznak has had experiences with skunks. So I told her, I'm like, if you watch this movie, you're gonna get skunk PTSD, right? And he's sitting in the bath, and this is where he has a schizo break. I don't know if you caught this, right? He starts telling his girlfriend his theories about like secret messages in movies, and he's going on this like Reddit tier, like Substack, you know, dwarven allfather fucking rant, right? And you know, full blown insane schizo rant. And she's like, you smell really bad. I'm gonna go away now. She's just like deuces out. She's like, okay. And he just loses it. And of course he does the crazy thing next, and he goes to the artist's house. What'd you think about the artist? I want to explain that to us.
The artist. Sorry, I'm blanking on that for a second.
The comic book guy.
So the comic book guy. Oh my God. Right. Oh geez. Yeah. See, you say comic book guy because I'm lowbrow, so I know instantly who you're speaking about. Yeah, I thought that was very funny because when he talks to the guy on the telephone, they're just so naturally like, oh, this random guy left his number at a comic book store. Yeah, I'm gonna call him, and he just invite, hey, come on over anytime. I'm just gonna be drawing all day. He was very much the what were the name of the conspiracy guys in X-Files who they had their own spinoff for a while?
The Lone Horseman?
Lone Gunman, the Lone Gunman. Wasn't that
the
name of their
Lone
group?
Gunman?
Lone Gunman?
Yep.
Yeah, he had a very Lone Gunman vibe. You know, with the cameras in the house and all the different art and the pictures of the not the picture, but the face masks, and like we got to remember these important people. Like he's clearly somebody who has been on a similar kind of vision quest as poor old Sam. And in a way, I kind of wondered if he's doing the comics and he's doing the stuff to try to like signal out to anyone else who might be there, and anyone else who wants to believe or whatever. But yeah, I mean, and he's also like crazy. He's clearly insane, just like working on a different level. Like this guy does not need cocaine. He simply is cocaine. Like the facial expressions and the actor and all that stuff is just very, very funny. But it is very much confirmation that Sam has moved very quickly into the circles of some kind of society that he does not even really yet begin to perceive.
And the guy goes,
then
"These are the
maps, and he's got the serial map, and like,
he's like, these are the life masks of all the great men of Hollywood." And he's got all these like like Roman era style, like plaster cast of like Johnny Depp and just a bunch of different actors and stuff.
I loved how he starts with Abe Lincoln and then Johnny Depp. Lincoln. You're like, what? Like the juxtaposition between those two characters, and I thought Abe Lincoln was a very good choice too, because it's
his street address was 1776.
Oh, I missed that. Oh no, that's funny.
Right? So yeah, so he's got some. It's like,
he's
is it saying that America is crazy?
Well, he's a representation of the kind of person that, when he invokes Abe Lincoln, he's functioning on a high school level public education, and he's piecing together what he can, but he hasn't gotten any new information since 12th grade. You know what I mean? Like he sees that there's something, but he doesn't quite have because Sam has something he doesn't. I think Sam has instinct, and he doesn't have instinct. Like Sam very much reminded me of an Agent Dale Cooper type character. He had very strange methods in his investigations. And you notice, I don't think Cooper ever explains. Yeah, Cooper never really explains what the fuck he's doing, but he just kind of gets to where he needs to be by following the signs. That's not something the artist is necessarily capable in, because he's just too deep in it. And maybe Sam's at the tail end of this, where all of this is starting to fall apart and all of this is finally beginning to degrade, and like he can recognize the signs,
Right.
I don't know.
So here's another connection. You said, no, absolutely. Here's another connection with David Lynch. So the actor that plays the comic man is Patrick Fisher, right? Patrick Fischler. He was in Mulholland Drive. And I remember, if you remember Mulholland Drive, he's at the end of Mulholland Drive. He's the guy that sees the crazy bum and like dies of fright. He's like in Los Angeles, like at some like Denny's, and sees like the crazy bum. So there's some David, and there's another. Oh, and you know what he does in this scene? He justifies Sam's insanity because he gives him the hobo book and goes, "No, see what this means is stay quiet. These 2 diamonds, it's hobo code, bro. Yeah. You should know this." To stay quiet, right? And he goes, "It's a message."
But stay quiet about what? What is it that I know? Yeah, it's great.
But he says it's directed at you, So he brings Sam into this fucking insanity world, right? Or maybe it's not. And he starts going, yeah. And he like justifies like all his rant to his girlfriend earlier. He's like, dude, there's like sexual imagery in all the ads, and shows like, we get that montage of like, the woman with like, obviously giving a BJ to like the lipstick, and all the different like very
baby tits and hamburgers.
Yeah. Yeah, very like, we all know that we've all like, the Lion King thing, the Aladdin thing. We've all seen the sexual innuendos in ads and stuff. But this guy just feeds him. He's like, it's all connected, man. But the key to everything is in Space Stone cereal. He's like, I'm convinced that the key is in these cereals. And then he takes him to his creepy shack, his creepy like den of cameras, and and he tells him about the owl.
Yeah. I loved how whenever Sam brought up something like real tiny and like he had kind of a question, he wasn't really sure. And then the artist is like, "Oh yeah, bro," and like hands him an encyclopedia article, like fully fleshing out like the tiny little thing that Sam has a vague perception of. The artist is like, "Oh yeah, let me, here's the handbook on that thing, here's the hobo handbook that explains everything that you just, intuited
Right.
about it. He has it all very well researched. Like he's got all of this, but he can't
connect the dots.
picture.
He can't connect the
He
dots.
can't quite put the picture together. Actually, you know what it is? I just realized he can't quite put the picture together because he's too old. Because what's the thing that allows Sam to? This is why I said like Mario was very well done. What does Sam use in order to interpret the map?
Video games.
Yeah, he uses fucking Mario Brothers. It's great.
Right.
Like, see, Sam knew that. He had experience with that bit of culture. Poor artist hasn't quite gotten there yet.
Because our artist, he's a Gen Xer.
Yes.
He is.
Yeah.
He is
Gen
not.
X is doomed
he
because
is
they never
not
played video
attuned.
games. It's true.
That's right. He's not attuned to the millennial schizoidness, and we're beyond his era. You know.
Yes.
And
we've ascended.
So the next scene's interesting because it's. So, you know, I don't know if you notice his other friend, he has two friends that are really weird, right? And like, they're kind of like disjointed characters. His other friend is Topher Grace from the 70s show with a beard, and he's very unrecognizable. It took me a while to, I'm like, is that Topher Grace? And it's Topher Grace. And he doesn't even have a name. His name is Bar Friend or something like that in like the credits.
Bar Friend. Yes. Good old Bar Friend.
And it's that really weird scene where they're creeping on that woman with the drone. What do you think about that scene?
Well, it's very funny that it was a drone, and he's like, "Where'd you get that?" And he's got, "I got it where you get everything from these days, Amazon." So it highlights how the movie is set in this. You know, millennials, we live in a liminal space. We know what life was like before the internet, and then we've watched all of this stuff come out, and that moment was the one that really kind of showed that. Like, remember when Amazon was new, guys? Does anybody remember what it was like before Amazon? You know, like it. So I thought that was cool. Then, of course, because I'm this guy, the very next thing I thought was, man, that drone. I wonder how many explosives you could pack into that thing. But that's because I'm a horrible person. But the scene, like, of course, that's what somebody of this culture, of this group, would do with a drone. Oh man, I got this drone. We're gonna go look at some titties. I mean, of course, like there's nothing that you could do with that drone beyond go look at titties. And I thought it was a very, very funny scene because they fly in and the woman sits down and she takes off her shirt and then she begins to cry, clearly deeply upset about something. And never, you know, it never gets to the show that the guys are looking for. They never see any titty. But they also don't like give her privacy. Well, it leaves them unsettled, but they also don't give her privacy because they're like, yeah, she's crying and this is really awkward, but you know, they're still waiting. That just shows like, dude, both of these guys are just trash. And I think Sam gets up to leave because he knows it's not going to happen. Like he's not leaving because he's unsettled and he's a gentleman. He's leaving because she's like, yeah, she's really crying. She's not taking her top off, man. I'm out. You know, it's like, come on, guys.
But the friend is more unsettled. The friend is more unsettled, and it's interesting.
I would agree.
And they had this conversation about how, like, they had this conversation about being alone and like how like our culture is basically constantly on the internet and we're constantly connected, but we're alone. And it's really interesting. And like Sam goes on this like kind of soliloquy about how like, do you ever feel like you failed and you're not living the life you're supposed to? And
live in some
you get this idea
version of it.
Well, you get this idea that Sam has a kind of like main character syndrome, right? And you start to piece together his personality, and you're like, this guy grew up like all of us being told we're special, unfortunately, right? Like most of us millennials. And not only did we
do
grow
whatever you
up,
want, you can grow up to be president.
Right. Not only that, but he grew up playing the video games and watching the movies where everybody was special in these movies, you know, and everybody was the main character. And he literally, and you and I can probably both agree, right? Because I've had these feelings too. We just, you know, we weren't the main character. Sometime in our life, we realized, oh, we're not the main character. We're just a character, and maybe an unnamed character like his friend Bar Guy or his girlfriend, the actress. You know, that's the only name she gets, right? And you know, when you grow up consuming media where about like, you know, heroes, and you're playing video games where you're Link and you're Mario and you're the main character and you're saving the princess, you take it back to your life and you want to do that. And this is what he's doing, right? He's not paying attention to his rent. He's not paying attention to the fact that his car got repoed, which happened, and I forgot to mention it. We're not paying attention to anything, right? His real life, what he's obsessed with is this weird video game quest he's on, right? To find this girl he met for like 2 hours. And you know, and the world around him is chaotic and consumes you, like, you know. And obviously I think the reference in that, watching that woman cry, is probably some like Harvey Weinstein, Epstein type of thing, you know, where she had to do stuff that she was not happy about doing, you know. That's kind of the vibe you have. And what it does, the movie, that scene, because it zooms in and you're watching her from your first person perspective, basically, it actually forces you, the viewer, the movie watcher, to participate in the voyeuristic humiliation of this woman, right? So not only does the characters kind of feel gross, you kind of feel gross, because deep down inside, as a male, during that scene, you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna see some more titties in this movie, you know what I mean? When the drone was coming on, but you didn't. You got a very sad thing, you know what I mean? And it has this third layer of it that's really cool.
Yeah, it is a nice bit of manipulation, because they hype her up ahead of time, where it goes, man, she must have been a lingerie model or something. So not only were we going to see more titties in the movie, but we were going to see the best titties of the movie, probably. And then that is denied us.
Because, and you know, guilt trips us, gives us the reality. It humanizes it, and it makes us feel like voyeuristic pieces of shit. We feel like Sam should feel, which he doesn't, because he's not a good dude, to be honest. I skipped the part at the party. You get introduced to an important character, the balloon girl, right?
Balloon girl, yes.
There's this really weird girl. Did I save a picture of her? I don't think I did. Well, she's
on the title. She's on the title screen.
She's on the title. That's Balloon Girl right there. And Balloon Girl, she's like, does this really crazy weird dance, and she's got all these red balloons, you know, very like, you know, Stephen King, very Stanley Kubrick-y kind of. And she's doing this dance, and people are using those pins to pop the balloons. Interestingly enough, Sam does not pop a balloon, right? Because she's like a fantasy, and he does not pop the fantasy. You know what I mean? He doesn't pop. I don't know. That's kind of what. And this other girl comes up to him and goes, "Hey, tomorrow I'm doing a party. I'm doing a special secret show at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery," and gives him a cookie. And she goes, "Make sure you bring this cookie. You cannot be missing one crumb from it." And it's got the number 76 on it, and he puts it in his pocket. So the next day he goes to Hollywood Forever. Are you familiar with Hollywood Forever?
I'm not, no.
So Hollywood Forever is a cemetery in the middle of Hollywood. It is a very old cemetery, probably the oldest one in Los Angeles. And it's basically where all the movie stars are buried. Not recent movie stars, but old timey, like Silver Age, Golden Age movie stars.
Hitchcock shows up.
Yeah, exactly. And you've got all those famous, you know, you walk around, and it's modeled in like the East Coast kind of cemeteries, or the European ones. You've got like the tombstones with like elaborate kind of designs. Most graveyards in California are like the flat, very simple, flat gravestones, you know, like the headstones. But this is like, has like the old fashioned, like stuff you find in Savannah and down here in the South. And it's a very trendy place to go, like have picnics, and they do events. They do movie nights at Hollywood Cemetery. You know, they do like movie nights, and it's kind of like a thing. It's like movie night at the Hollywood Cemetery. They'll show like vintage movies or indie movies, and everybody sits around, drinks beer and stuff. And it's kind of like the hipster thing to do. I don't even know if they do that, but that's a big thing. They do parties. And that's what he goes to. He goes to see, and he's standing there. He's watching this kind of indie movie, which, as a note, is an indie movie directed by the same director that made Silver Lake. And there's this, he sees this actress, and she's this redhead with short hair. And he looks around, and she's standing right there with her friends, and they're talking to this dude that's dressed like, not a pirate, but like an Indian. He's got like a Native American like feathered chief headdress on, right? He's like another like character, and he's like weird, like, you know. And he walks up there and goes, "Are you the girls in the movie?" And Sydney Sweeney's the other girl.
Right.
And my dog's going nuts. And they're like, "Yeah, we're in this movie, blah blah blah." And he like kind of talks to them for a minute, and the Indian guy, the guy with the headdress, he like shovels them off into this limo, and he peeks in the limo and he sees the pirate.
Pirate guy.
So
Oh
he
no.
sees pirate guy, and the limo takes off. So then he goes into the crypt, into the actual like building of the cemetery, and there's this cool party, and he runs into his friend again, right? He runs into the blouse guy, and he goes, "Dude, is there anything strange going on in this friend group? Like, do you notice anything weird?" And the guy's like, "Yeah, actually,
Anything extra weird.
extra weird." He's like, "Well, everything's weird." And he tells her like crazy chicks are good to fuck or something like that. He tells her some like stupid, cheesy like line like that.
Yeah. Crazy is good for sex.
Yeah, crazy is good for
Good
sex.
for sex. Yeah.
Yeah, because that dude's gay as fuck, like, you know, but whatever. And he tells him, "Yeah, but I was like with this girl, and she told me that like there's secret messages in Jesus and the Bride's album." And he's like, "Yeah, whatever." And he walks away. So then Sam sees Balloon Girl, and he goes with Balloon Girl down into like the underground bar. And, you know, and he eats the fucking cookie. He eats the whole cookie to get into the place. He eats the whole cookie.
Yes.
And
that's a key
they
point.
they have an interesting conversation, smoking cigarettes. And what do you think about that conversation between Sam and the Balloon Girl?
Remind me of the conversation again.
He like asks her like where you know, if he's ever seen this girl, or like what's going on, and there's people missing and all this kind of stuff. And is there secret code? He's like, "I heard there's secret codes in the music."
Yeah, it's kind of hard for me to remember that conversation. I can't really say why, which might be actually kind of part of it. I remember watching the scene and watching the things around it a little bit more so. I mean, Balloon Girl is kind of like you said, she's the fantasy. I think she knows she's the fantasy, and she gives, you know, she gives Sam that shot when they were sitting on the dancing floor, and when they're on the dance floor and they're doing all that stuff. And it's very funny how they just had that conversation of, you know, we should fuck. Yeah. And it's
right.
you know, having lived that loser millennial life, I know that girl. And it's funny that it's all fine until Sam tries to start to like dig into the stuff underneath it. You know, he tries he's trying to have his cake and eat it too, almost.
Right. Well, so he asks her about the record, and she shuts him off. She goes, "No, the music is just music, man. You know, life is just about enjoying yourself." And then she does this.
That's what it was. That's right.
The cheesy balloon.
Yeah. There's
she
nothing
blows
to be
the
done
balloon
except
up and
have
pops
fun,
it.
right?
Yeah, like it's like, you know, life is meaningless. Just have fun. You know, there's no meanings to anything.
We're gone tomorrow.
Yeah, and then he's like, "Yeah, let's dance." So you go dancing. She's like, "What the fuck?" You know, she's like your typical like millennial like burnhead. You know, like just this like I just want to have fun. I just want to live, love, laugh, learn, love, or whatever. You know, like I'm just here to like just this ultimate hedonist who has a sinister streak to her, because she's pulling him back from, you know, she's given him an out. She's given him an exit, right? She's basically telling him, "Okay, knock it off, go away," which is very similar
to
the
surface level. Yeah.
Yes. Come back, anesthetize yourself again with sex and drugs, right? Come out of that. And he, you know, she's like, "You want to fuck?" And he's like, "Yeah, I want to fuck." I mean, she's hot, right? And they're dancing, and he's high as fuck because the cookie like is obviously drugged, and he's getting higher and higher. Like the scene makes it, you know, but she's very similar in a way to in Eyes Wide Shut at that weird party at the very beginning. Tom Cruise gets whisked away from the party by those two girls that are like twins or something like that, and they're like, "Oh, do you know where the rainbow ends?" And just kind of saying weird shit like that. That's like very hedonistic, and they're taking him away, but he gets pulled back into the party by the old man, because the incident happens right with the dead hooker, and so he passes out because he throws up. He goes to throw up because he's high as well because he ate the whole cookie. He wasn't supposed to eat the whole cookie. He's only supposed to eat a little bit of it because they had like mescaline or something in it. And he comes out of the bathroom and she's gone. She's bounced. She's a fleeting moment. Which is interesting. Like his chance to exit is over. This was his last exit, right?
Alex, it's interesting because he eats the whole cookie because he doesn't know what he's doing. But there's kind of two levels to this, because on the dance floor, he throws it up, which on one level disgusts her, right? Because she's like, "Oh, this guy can't handle it." Like it's oh my gosh, like this guy's a moron. But then on the flip side, it's also she's not getting him back. He literally threw it up back at her. You see what I mean?
Yeah,
she realizes she's wasted her time. Yeah,
right.
He's not going to return. He's not going to come back to the surface level. He's literally throwed up my attempt to get him back. So I'm out.
Yeah. So he walks out of the bathroom and freaking he sees that chick, like that chick that he was following, right? And
goes after her,
and he passes out in the cemetery. And he wakes up the next morning, and he's basically like he's basically like in the cemetery. His phone's ringing. His mom's like, I sent you a VHS tape of.
I love that his mom calls
that
wakes him up, and he's in the cemetery that he slept in all night. He's like, "How are you doing?" "I'm good." Like tries to make it sound like he's at home in bed. Not
right.
Splayed out.
He's like sleeping in a park in a cemetery, right? And now he's in deep, right? He's gone to the underworld. He's gone into the crypts, and he's come out on the other side, and he's now in full blown crazy mode. And he goes back to the comic book guy's house, and the comic book guy is dead.
Oh yeah,
right. So he breaks into that dude's house too, and there's blood everywhere, and the cops are like, "Oh, it was a suicide."
Well, real quick, side note of one really funny part about that scene is the cop's like, "Yeah, it's a suicide." He didn't seem suicidal. Yeah, I was in the house for 2 hours. The guy had something wrong with him. But then when Sam goes around to the back of the house, and the bars on the window are pried open, like LAPD's finest, sir. Yeah, it was a suicide. What about the iron bars? Literally.
Oh yeah, you noticed the bars. Yeah, you noticed the bars.
Yeah, I thought that was hilarious. I'm like, suicide, huh? Yeah, sure, buddy. Like it's just Sam is so deep that getting so deep that he sees that immediately, and the cop is just whatever. I was in there for 2 hours. I know everything. Well, you didn't look at the fucking outside of the house, buddy.
Yeah, you fat cop, dude, right? Like
oink oink. That was so funny. Yeah, the bars, I paused it and laughed. I'm like, that's great.
Right.
Anyway,
so he goes inside. He sneaks back into like the creep room with the video stuff, and he puts on the video, and he sees the owl, which is a naked woman with an owl mask, right? It's like this like this kind of Illuminati thing. This very much like a Bohemian Grove kind of symbology, right? And he goes home, and he's basically like the freaking like he's back home, and he's with his friend Topher, right? And they're playing Mario. It's the first Mario, right? They're playing Mario, and they're going up and down pipes and stuff. And he's going on and on about like listening to messages about, like the secret stuff, right? All the secret stuff. And he's playing the record backwards, and he's going into full blown schizo mode now, right? And
Alex, let me the Mario thing. I want to touch on that real quick, because this is how cool the movie gets. The guy's playing, and he's in the underwater level, and he messes that up, and he dies, right? When Sam plays, you know how he like there's like 4 quick things that he does, and then he goes down a pipe. Those were all secrets that he hit. The secret flower, the secret level up thing, one of the coins, and then that pipe led to the special area where you could skip forward to another zone. Which his friend doesn't know any of that stuff. He's just playing the game. And then Sam's like, "Oh no!" and he zips right to the end. Because that pipe, if you did it twice in a particular way, you could skip to the 9th level and get right to the end, no problem.
I didn't catch that. See,
when I saw that, I was like, "Ooh, clever, very good."
Right.
That's when I texted you. I said Mario was really well done. That's what I was talking about because I recognize all 4 of those. I haven't touched those games in 20 years, and it's seared into my mind of, oh yeah, the secret, code and this, and you got to hit that block and blah. I mean, that's a very video game kind of thing.
Right. That's wild. I didn't think about that. Well, that's when they had the conversation about like, there's nothing new in our world. There's no meaning. And that's really the millennial problem, right? Like we lost meaning. Like there's nothing new to discover. There's nothing new to do. Or at least that's the feeling that a lot of us have.
And then Sam demonstrates it's not true. He demonstrates it in that moment with his mastery of the game that's not true. He just does a bunch of stuff the other guy didn't even know was possible.
Right. And then he gets obsessed about, trying to figure out what the secret message in the Jesus and the Bride song is. And he gets frustrated. He writes everything on a pizza box, and he has this crazy jerk off session, which is probably the most like goon. I'm talking about the most goony. He has all his pop culture stuff lined up on the bed. He's like beating it to like the Playboy magazine.
It's like a masturbatory seance. Like he's gathering in all of his gods to like, and then he's gonna worship them, and hopefully they'll. It's like he's gone up to the mountain, but in this case, it's a couple of boobs on a Playboy magazine. Right, he's gone up to the mountain to like appeal to God, and like he's gonna come down with the 10 wank medments or something. I don't even know.
But it's occult. Aleister Crowley. In sex magic, a lot of it was masturbation, right? And
of course.
He's got his Playboy. He's got the Polaroid of Sarah. He's got like
he's got them all laid out perfectly, like
all this stuff, and he's got the LA Weekly with the pictures of the brides, and he's just like furiously beating it.
Oh yeah,
and
he's trying to read the entrails, man. That's what he's doing. He's trying to read the entrails.
Exactly. He's basically doing like some millennial divination, like some straight up
millennial divination, jacking off the porn.
Yeah, right? That's great. He's jacking off the pop culture, And he turns the page because he's like looking at the brides, and he turns the page and he sees like want ads, right? And he sees. So if you lived in Los Angeles or Long Beach or those LA Weekly, Long Beach Weekly, half of them were like articles that were actually pretty good and like movie reviews and book reviews and stuff. But about 60% of those magazines were like escort ads, escort ads in the back. So he pops into the escort ads because he's going to jerk into the escort pictures, but he sees the actresses. He sees this agency called Shooting Star, and that's where it is. The millennial like self-masturbatory divination worked. It like clicked.
Oh, I know. So I was just about to say I can't decide what's worse. The fact that millennial divination is jacking off the porn, or the fact that it fucking worked. God damn it.
Right.
So good.
And then
so good.
And then so he calls a hooker, and she knows Sarah. She recognizes the picture, and she's basically telling him that all the actresses that are not famous in Hollywood are prostitutes. Right.
Yep.
She's like, yeah, we're all prostitutes. We're all prostitutes, and every single one of us is prostitutes.
That was a very funny scene. When she's like, would you like a blowjob? To the one-time
from a
girlfriend
shooting star
of the supporting character. Yeah, like trying to make it sound glamorous. And she knows.
But she's joking, she knows that he knows, and she's playing along. And then she basically implies that Sarah herself was also a shooting star prostitute because she met her when she was in a glass cube dressed in the Dalmatian bikini while old pervy men were watching her,
Yeah.
And
another
dogs again, right?
For Dalmatian.
And and there was dogs barking at him when he left the dead comic guy's house. Just dogs barking at him, And he's kind of like, and then she tells him, oh yeah, and like we were at this great party, and it was this neighborhood where we could do whatever we want, except we couldn't go to one house. That was the rule. We cannot go to one house. And it kind of leaves it at that. And then
Right.
he's you know, he's like I need to get hold of Jesus. I need to figure out where the hell Jesus is, right? So he calls his friend, the guy with the blouse, and he invites him to, give me a second.
Do. So yeah, I don't know if anybody out there is another Mario Brothers fan, but low key, Super Mario Brothers 2 is the best one, only because you could choose the different characters and
pull up radishes.
Listen, Luigi supremacy. All right, that jump, forget about it. You all with your flying princess and no, Luigi supremacy. All right, so that's it.
I think Mario is the best one.
Well, Mario's just okay at everything. It's the funny story about that game though is it was supposed to be something totally different, and then they just like threw Mario on it and totally reskinned it. So that's why it's so fucking weird, which is why I love it. But it is also a dream. Actually, it's funny that in this conversation I decided to post about Super Mario Brothers 2 because that's the one where it's all the dream and like Mario is diving deep into his subconscious.
Right, he's pulling up radishes and stuff.
He's pulling up the radishes and then masturbating on them. It's amazing.
Right.
Wait, what?
Right, it's weird, right? You know.
Yeah,
so
anyway.
Now we have the two some of the two best scenes in the movie coming up back to back.
Yes.
So he goes back. He goes to the weird chess party, right? So it's this like retarded chess party, and
of course his friend is there.
His friend's there, and it's basically all these thoughts everywhere, just like basically all the hookers he's been seeing throughout the whole movie, and now he knows they're all hookers. You know, like they're like nobody's real in this movie. They're all hookers or like male gigolos that are like there to be like to look good for rich people. They're all playthings of these people.
It's all just a Diddy party. It's all just a big Epstein Diddy party. That's
right.
All. That's all.
That's where he's at. He's at a Diddy party basically, and he's like watching Jesus. Jesus is over there with his little hose, his little trilogy, right? And
but they're playing chess though.
He goes.
That's important, I think.
But they're playing chess, right? And Jesus gets up and he's like, he goes up to go to the bathroom. So Sam follows him to the bathroom. He follows people to the bathroom a lot in this movie, right? And
it's a decent way to get what he wants.
Right. He walks in there, and this time it's different because he just beats the shit out of Jesus. He just like,
he learned.
He just wails on him, right? And he finds out that Jesus, he's like, tell me, why'd you put a secret message in the song? Why'd you put a secret message in the song?
Wailing on the dude. Yeah.
He's wailing on the dude, right? And oh no, we need to skip. We skipped the part after his crazy jerk off session on the hooker, right? He decodes the song.
That's right. Gosh, that's like one of the most important bits. Yeah.
Right. And the song says, rub Dean's head and wait under Newton. Right. And he figures out that that's at the observatory. Right. The Griffith Park Observatory. I'm going to put the picture up right now. And Griffith Park Observatory.
I love that that's real. I love that that's real.
It's absolutely real. It's kind of a pain in the ass to get to because you have to go down this crazy windy mountain road to get to the top of Hollywood Hills. And it's beautiful, but it's filled with all kinds of weird occult shit. A lot of astrology, astronomy stuff. You've got like weird Hollywood, and then you also have like science stuff, And James Dean is interesting because he's one of those live fast, die young kind of people. He died young. Hollywood consumed him. And then Newton was obviously a scientist, like he's an Apple guy and gravity, but he was big into the occult, right?
Yeah.
And he's just chilling there. Shit. Right. He's chilling there. And there's on top of the statue in front of the Griffith Park Observatory, there's an astrolabe, and he waits until the sun aligns with the astrolabe. That's there's a scene where the sun is exactly in the right spot, and the king of the bums comes to him, right? And have you ever heard of the Emperor of the United States in Mexico?
No. What's this? Wait, maybe I have.
Google the
It's ringing a
Emperor
bell.
of the United States and Mexico. Emperor Norton, the Emperor of the United States and Mexico.
All right, here we go. Emperor Norton. Oh, he looks like the dude.
I'm sure that's who he's based on.
Yeah, Joshua Abraham Norton, born February 4, 1818. Norton the First. Fantastic. Protector of Mexico. Oh, he's born in England, raised in South Africa. Good for him.
Well, he was a bum, right? He was a bum from San Francisco, a crazy homeless guy that declared himself.
Don't say.
He declared himself the Emperor of America and Protector of Mexico. And guess what? Everybody kind of played along with him. And his entire life, everybody in San Francisco treated him like the emperor. You know, they would have
One quick
parades.
side note. I want to highlight that one thing that was really amusing to me was as Sam went through this journey, he slowly but surely began to take on the accoutrement of bums, including the skunk smell. And then, his dress kind of just degrades over time. I'm sure you'll bring it up, but at one point he gets something that kind of looks like a medical bracelet. Like, it was very funny to me. Like, he's slowly turning into the Los Angeles schizo bum. Fantastic.
Right,
and then he meets his emperor.
He meets the emperor, right? He meets the emperor of the bums, the king of the bums, right? And it's interesting, in San Francisco, they still have the annual Emperor Norton Day, where they celebrate the one and only emperor of the United States, right?
That's great.
And it was also a side plot in the graphic novel Sandman by Neil Gaiman. So there's a lot of like connections there. So he follows this bum through the hills of Hollywood, right? He gets blindfolded and follows this bum. He's like, yeah, let's come and get blindfolded and follow a fucking bum, whatever. And the guy's like going on about coyotes and the symbolism of coyotes, and you should always follow coyotes, and coyotes really ruled the land. Now, I don't know how it is where
that's the
you
best
live.
advice in the movie. That's the best advice in the movie, by the way. So
follow coyotes.
But yeah, sorry.
Now,
yeah,
in
absolutely.
California, in Los Angeles, there's coyotes everywhere, right? Like when I lived, right before I moved out to South Carolina, I cannot leave my dog out. I have a tiny dog, right, Quinn, and we cannot leave her out at night or like by herself at night, specifically to go in the backyard, because a coyote would jump the 6 foot, 7 foot tall fence and snatch your dog, right? We had people in our neighborhood who got their dogs stolen by coyotes. And if you're out walking at night or walking the dog at night, it's not uncommon to see like a pack of coyotes just chilling up, up and down the street. One time I had a coyote walk up to me. Like I was smoking a cigarette like at 2 a.m, and this freaking coyote, I turned around and there was a coyote like creeping up on me, like a big ass one too, like the size of a big dog, and they'll come up to you and they'll attack you. They'll eat your small dog. They'll snatch your baby and stuff. I mean, I don't think that's ever happened, but they're everywhere. Like they're a thriving species in Southern California. They're not like endangered or anything like that. They're just everywhere, and you'll see them in like Hollywood Boulevard, like in the middle of like a metropolis. So it's interesting that coyotes are a big deal in this. So he follows, and the dude takes him to these caves, and it's very Zelda in vibes, right? He enters this cave very much like Zelda.
Yes.
There's this crazy Egyptian hieroglyphics, these statues of Anubis, the jackal-headed, dog-headed god of the underworld. And
of course.
What's inside the chamber? Nothing. It's like an empty
not
room.
Nothing.
Okay, it's under
got
construction.
Like the beds and supply. Yeah, it puts off real Fallout bunker vibes. I mean, does he even say at one point, he's like, what is all this for? Like it gives off Fallout bunker vibes big time, which I like that part because it struck two chords. One is that you can't really have a proper Lynchian film if you don't deal with the fact that nuclear thing is a thing, And then also I remember earlier in the I remember earlier when he's talking to his bar buddy and he says that, everyone in the United States is suffering from mild paranoia. And that's why everybody's suffering from mild paranoia. The idea that at any moment we could be wiped off the face of the earth. But I think what the movie does, I think is very funny, is it subverts that a little bit later on, which we can come back to that. But when he finally meets like, the true, what's truly going on is it's cool because they're even playing on that. You know what I mean? So anyway, we can hold that off, but I like that was in there. And then he, well, you'll take it from here.
Well, so in Los Angeles, there's actually are tunnels everywhere, right? If you, the greatest, my favorite living singer right now, Lana Del Rey, sings about there's a tunnel underneath Ocean Boulevard, which is about a tunnel in Long Beach, which is not very far from Los Angeles, 20-minute drive, right? And there's all kinds of tunnels, and there even used to be an underground Nazi bunker fortified base in Los Angeles in the Hollywood Hills. Because there was these group of like really filthy rich people that were convinced that Hitler was going to win World War II. And they were Nazis themselves. They were ideological Nazis, part of the American Nazi party. And they built this like giant Nazi fortress in the Hollywood Hills with underground bunkers and stuff. Mostly got torn down, but really up until the 90s, there was a giant swastika like mosaic there and all kinds of weird bunkers. And they got rid of it because too many people were going there and like doing weird shit over there. So now they like, I think they tore it down. But there's all kinds of weird crap in these hills, right? It's very like, it's interesting. Hollywood's a very weird spot where like you have a lot of like walled off rural kind of places in the middle of this giant city, and it's bizarre. So this is after this, he exits the crazy chamber and he ends up in another like Big Lebowski homage where he comes out in the fridge of the coffee shop and he drinks the milk.
Yeah, that was great.
Big Lebowski. And then he goes to the chess party.
Off to the chess party. All right, now we're caught up.
He beats the crap out of Jesus. And Jesus admits that like he's like I didn't put any messages, man. And the guy's a total pussy, right? He has this like image of like I'm the Lord of Darkness, but dude, he got beat up by by Sam, by Andrew.
He got
Garfield
taken out
here.
on the shitter, man. Oh.
Right, he's like his pants around his ankles, and they show a scene. They show his turd, and the whole point is like they're associating shit with this guy, and he's getting his ass beat and he's bloody. He's just getting his face punched in, and he goes. There's like a funny line where he goes, the record company gave me those songs. Well, which songs? And he lists like 4 songs, and Sam goes, those are your hits. He goes, oh man, and he just punches him again. He's like, so. He's like, oh, so he realizes that like these musicians are not like it's not Jesus that's part of the conspiracy. He's just a pawn. He's just like the hookers, right? He's just like the hookers.
Yeah.
So he goes back to the
man.
Right. He goes back to the hookers, the shooting stars and Balloon Girls with them, right? You got what's her name? The famous actress now.
Sydney Sweeney.
Sydney Sweeney, right? She's there. She's like a side role, right? And he's got like the redhead, and I don't think redhead even has a name, and Sydney Sweeney, and then Balloon Girl. And there's this really dark scene. I don't know if you caught this. It's a very, very dark scene, right? And he asks them, hey, can you take me to that house that you could not go into? Right?
Yeah.
And she's like, sure. So they're walking down the street and he's walking next to Balloon Girl. And that's the scene we used as the intro, right? He's talking to Balloon Girl. And he goes, oh, I didn't know you were a shooting star. So he asked her, like, I didn't know you were a hooker, right? He goes, yeah. And he goes, oh, I didn't know you were an actress. And she goes, yeah, I was an actress from the time I'm 5 months old to 6 months old.
Yeah.
Right. And when you think about it, it's kind of dark, and he kind of has like a gross reaction to it. He's like, ugh, and there's a lot of implication here that, they get him young, they end up as prostitutes, they get churned up, they're used. Right. And,
she gives him a real like, oh honey, look, like, aren't you innocent?
Right. But he's kind of grossed out by it because he's like, oh, that's kind of weird. So they take him to the house and he jumps the fence, and there's this really weird scene for like 1 second as he's walking towards his house, and it's like he's in a painting. Right? Did you catch that?
Where was this?
Like when he goes into he goes to like the songwriter's house, and it's like maybe it's not a painting, but it's like Technicolor. It looks like the Wizard of Oz. Like it looks like, that meme where it's like which way Western Man or whatever, and it's got like the road. Right? It's like that, but this path going up into this house with like, very artificial perspective, and the colors for a second are like 1935 Technicolor. Like very
Oh,
Wizard of Oz.
you mean the painting of the house?
Right, but he's walking in. It's an
Yeah,
actual
yeah.
scene. It's like a weird, like
Yes.
it's awkward, right? It's like a weird scene.
Yeah,
And it's
exactly.
very, like,
yeah. I caught that.
he's
I just
he's
caught
going
that
to see the
there was
wizard.
this awkwardness. Yeah, right.
Right, it's like it's not real. So he crosses into this giant mansion, and I'm gonna let you explain the scene, okay? Because this is the best scene in the movie. All right,
Spectacular scene. I'll try to do it justice, but yeah, he makes his way into the house, and then he's walking through this. He makes his way to this room where there's all these different musical instruments, just all this different kind of stuff, and there's a real old man at a piano, and he confronts the guy, and he just kind of starts spilling the beans. Doesn't he start with by saying something about like, "Hey man, is that Kurt Cobain's Stratocaster?" And the
yeah, the
like,
guy's
yeah,
got all
like,
these like cool instruments, and like
he's got a
stuffed coyote.
He has a gallery. Yeah, he's got a pop culture gallery of like every important artifact. They're not artifacts; they're trophies. He's taking trophies of like
right, and a stuffed coyote. Did you notice a stuffed coyote?
I don't remember, but yeah,
He's got a really
sure.
big stuffed coyote there.
Of course, even that, right? Everything is subservient to this guy, and it's very similar to, I think, that scene in The Matrix where he meets the architect, and like where Neo meets the architect, and they're explaining like this is kind of the guy, or at least one of the guys, like really kind of high up. He finally runs down somebody who's high up in this whole organization, right? And they start having a conversation, and he's asking them questions. And the guy reveals
what does it mean?
What does this mean? And the guy reveals that he's the songwriter. All the hits are from this guy's mind. He wrote everything going back deep into the boomers. And the cool part about it was he's jumping from song to song, and song here and song. And it's like it's such a huge, eclectic variety of tunes. And as they're
playing
explaining
Jet,
this,
he's playing
he's playing everything, man. And there were two songs that stood out that I thought were particularly important to the scene. One was when he explains "Smells Like Teen Spirit." He starts playing "Smells Like Teen Spirit." He goes, "Ooh, there's that one." He's poking fun at the idea of Nirvana, and he's poking at Sam's conception of getting to Nirvana. And he starts playing "Smells Like Teen Spirit," and he's like, yeah, that didn't come from that guitar that, and Sam is holding the Stratocaster that supposedly Kurt Cobain wrote the song on. It's like, that came from this guy right here at this piano playing it right now, and he keeps playing the tune. So he just like shatters Sam's entire conception of reality in a moment.
Right.
And what
because Sam is a millennial.
Yeah, he's a millennial, and we love our tunes, and
everything we listen to in high. Cared about authenticity, man. We got to keep it real.
Yeah,
we have to keep it real.
Yeah.
And this guy's like, your parents' protest songs, and he's playing the protest songs. He's playing freaking Beatles.
Yeah.
He's like, I wrote that. He's like, rock and roll, Joan Jett. I wrote that. Oh yeah, you're rebelling? No. You're rebelling to my music. He goes, everything, your culture, your rebellion, everything. He blows his nose, and he goes, tissue paper.
Yeah, you got to let me have that part, because that was the other second thing that they did in the scene that I thought was brilliant. Did you catch what song he plays when he says, "Even your rebellion was written to my soundtrack"? Do you remember what song?
No, what is he playing?
He plays "What's My Mind" from the end of Fight Club. That when the towers come down,
the Pixies, the Pixies song.
Yeah, the Pixies. Yeah, "You've met me at a very interesting time in my life." That part, I was like, this fucking movie rocks. That is, because music does that. It hijacks your emotions. It hijacks your critical thinking. Whenever a millennial hears that song by the Pixies, that guitar riff, that's all you need, isn't it? I mean, Jude, there are songs that we hear, one note, fucking know what it is. Boom. There's Zeppelin songs, like one chord from a Zeppelin tune, and I know exactly what it is. Like off you go. Right. So the way that they took that and then just throttle Sam with it was perfect, especially because Sam's reaction to it is literally the only reasonable reaction a human person could have. But I don't want to.
And he did.
I don't know if
Andrew Garfield just acted so well in this scene, because with this guy,
Yeah.
he basically did the Dave McGowan thing. He said, you millennial fuck, right? He says, your entire well-being, everything about you, your entire personality is based off of pop culture. You know, that's your reference in life, pop culture, and it's all fake and gay. And I wrote it and I shit on it, you know, and not only that, but I don't even care what it means. And even more importantly, it's not even for you. You're a tissue paper. You're nothing. Everything is fake, you know? So Andrew Garfield or Sam.
Well, let me pick this part up, because this was my favorite part. So Sam's doing this, and as all this stuff is being revealed to him, they do Chekhov's Stratocaster, where he looks at the Stratocaster, and you instantly go, "Oh, he's gonna beat that dude to death with it." Yeah. And he attacks him, but the dude pulls out a 6-shooter. He does the most boomer thing ever and pulls out a revolver. Right, misses all 6 shots. Then he pulls out a pistol, and he misses the one shot in his life he shouldn't have missed, and then takes a Stratocaster to the face, and Sam beats the bejesus out of this dude. That's one thing that I really liked about. Part of me was wondering if it was even real. Like, is this a dream? Like, is this really happening? But that's the funny thing about that kind of guy, where he's like, I wrote everything, I did everything, you millennials are shit. It's like, well, he just fucking killed you, dude. So,
but
I was also thinking to myself, isn't it funny that? Yeah, well, isn't it funny though that after the songwriter died, that's right when pop culture started to suck. Interesting how that works.
Right, but anyway, who is the songwriter?
Yeah, I don't know. Who is it?
Well, he gives you 2 very important clues. One clue is Sam goes, "But don't you have everything?" He's like, "Don't you have everything?" He's like, you know, and he's like, "No, I don't have everything." Right. And then when he's listing the songs, he goes, "I wrote this," and he plays Beethoven's Ode to Joy. Right. Now, obviously, that's from the, over 200 years ago, right? So he's Satan, bro. That's who this songwriter is. He's basically the Lord of Darkness, because he doesn't care, right? He doesn't care about any of this. He's corrupting, right? It's all inconsequential. Remember, the coyotes represent the bad guys in a way, right? They represent the people that hunt the dogs. Remember, I told you coyotes eat dogs, right?
Right.
They're dog killers, and dogs are good.
Beware the dog killer.
Right? Dogs are good because they represent humans. I'm going to go into that in a second when we finish the movie, right? But
nice.
Satan, the songwriter, is above everybody. He doesn't give a fuck about that. He's an agent of chaos because he is chaos, because he's the devil, right? And he won.
You're all playing to my tune.
Right. He won because he destroyed Sam at this point. He just told him, your life doesn't matter. It's fake and gay. You know what I mean? That's what he told him. So he doesn't matter that he died. Like, in a way, Sam killing him
he
didn't die because he's the Lord of Darkness, right? And he says, I have everything, because Satan has everything. He has almost everything. What he doesn't have is he doesn't have heaven, right? He doesn't have, he's stuck on this in this hell, right? And he just puts the messages because that's what he is. He's a deceiver. He's a musician. He has an angelic voice, right? That's what Lucifer does, right? And
that's funny too, because it goes back to rock and roll is the devil's music. There it is.
Right, and it is the devil's music,
Yeah, of course it is.
And I mean, he kills Kurt with Kurt Cobain's guitar. Who Kurt Cobain is a suicide. So it's like a lot of like really dark shit when you think about it. So he leaves this place. We're going to skip through some stuff because I want to get to the very end, right? He has this meeting with, he ends up at another party, and he sneaks away with Millicent, the billionaire's daughter. And he tells her, like, I think I knew one of the girls that like was with your dad. And she goes, I think somebody's following me. So they go on this walk, and they're walking through Silver Lake at night. And there's this really weird scene where there's a bum, and the bum asks him $1, and Sam goes, I don't have the money. He's like, no. And the guy is like, fuck you, you cheap motherfucker, blah, blah, blah. And as they're walking away, Sam goes on this rant. Now he's talking to a billionaire because she's the daughter of a billionaire. So he goes on this rant. He's like, I hate homeless people. Right? He's like, they're like poltergeists. They're like ghosts. They just live on the edge of society, looking in, angry and jealous, and they try to make everybody feel bad, And
Yeah.
he just described himself. Right.
That was great. She side eyes him a little bit, like, bro,
yeah,
you're on the inside. She's like, man, the stuff I've seen.
right.
Yeah, he has no idea.
He has no idea. So they go skinny dipping in the reservoir, which is kind of gross, to be honest, because that water, people drink that water and whatever, you know. And she gives him a bracelet, like the little medical kind of bracelet, right? The engraved bracelet, which is identical to a bracelet Sarah had. And
Right.
then they're naked, and he's like, he wants to bone her. He wants to fuck, right? That's what he thought was going to happen.
Yeah.
But she's like, no, I think people are following me. I just wanted to give you this secretly.
Right.
And then
she took him out in the middle of the reservoir so they could have a private conversation.
right. And then they get shot at like a sniper or something. And she gets shot, and you see the Playboy mag like scene I'm gonna put it up right now. You see the Playboy mag like redone, you know, but with blood and stuff, you know, and
shot in the heart a minute too late.
And
she gave love a bad name. Sorry, I apologize.
Right. And this is the end. This is the end of the movie, basically, because he goes back home, and now he's like spazzing out, and he hasn't the final revelation, right? He realizes that the final code, he combines the code of the bracelet with the previous code, and he realizes the bracelet has NPM on it, and he's basically like, you know, schizoing out, trying to figure out what does NPM stand for. What does NPM stand for? What does NPM stand for? He's like Googling it, time passes, and he finally figures out that NPM stands for Nintendo Power Magazine. And he takes out the cereal box map, overlays it, and he finds a location. It like the Nintendo Power map and the Zelda map basically matches perfectly with this map of Hollywood, of Los Angeles that came from the cereal box. It's just a completely schizo thing. And he goes there. And this is it. He finds the secret. He figures it out. And he goes there.
Finds the secret.
And it's a hut. Right? And he sees more hobo signs. He sees the 3 lines of the hobo sign, which means like danger is here.
Yeah.
Danger is here, right?
Dangerous place. Yep.
Like go away. It's telling bums to go away. So he goes up into the hills of Hollywood, and he finds this like tiki hut type of thing. And inside of it is like this dude, like this guy, this like hippie boomer guy, right? And these 3 girls, and you've seen and you've seen the girls before, and they're all dressed in white, and they're sitting there like all pagan Hindu, and he's like, what the fuck is going on? You know, he's got his gun, you know, he's got a gun now. He took the gun from the songwriter, and the guy's like, oh man, we're gonna transcend. And he's like, what? He's like, where's Sarah? He's like, oh, she's below. And he's like, what the fuck? You know, like it's confusing. Right. And he sits down and he's listening to these guys, and you find out that everything about everything is there's basically a weird Egyptian cult of rich people that pay a lot of money to get buried alive in these old bomb shelters, and they basically they're these billionaires. They disappear, they go underground, they live there for 6 months with their 3 wives. It's always 3 wives, right? And then I guess they die and they transcend, you know, and they're like, he's like, and he tells them, this world is horrible. You're it's just like throwing cheap rings at a carnival game, and you just win a crappy rabbit made out of sawdust. He's like, everything's meaningless, but we're gonna transcend, you know. And you're not even sure if this dude buys it.
Yeah, well, one of my favorite parts of that scene too is how they tie it back to the bunkers. And the first thing Sam asks is there going to be a war? Like, and the guy, his reaction to it, you can see on his face, he's like, of course, that's what a pleb's worried about. He's like, I don't know. Who cares, dude? Like, I'm getting buried underground with endless wine, endless food, and 3 hookers. It's like, what do I care? You know, it's like, that's not even doesn't even matter.
Right.
But
and
anyway,
then this scene is a slap in the face. This scene is like, it hits so hard, right? Because this whole movie, he's been in love with this girl he met for like 2 hours, right? Which is a millennial problem, which is getting sprung on bitches, right? All right,
Right.
he's sprung on bitches, even though he has tons of girls like across. Throughout the movie, he could have like slept with like a balloon girl. He had the pretty hot girlfriend. All the stuff. But no, he went chasing after this manic pixie like quirk chungus of a girl that he was obsessed with. Right. So he goes,
Right.
"Where's Sarah? Where's Sarah?" So the guy puts on the video chat and calls Sarah. And Sarah is already buried in a bunker. She is deep beneath, and you can see the
Right.
billionaire that's
who's
supposedly
supposed to
dead.
die.
Right? He's
Yep,
not
yep.
dead. He's got the other two roommates that Sam met before, and she's in there, and she's all like, "Hi, did you get a new dog?" And he's like dumbstruck because he realizes like, what the fuck am I doing? Right? He's like,
Yeah.
he wants to be like, "You're gonna fucking die," but he doesn't say that. He's all like, did you really want this? And she's like, I think it's too late now. So, whatever. I'm just gonna
Might as well make the best of it.
I'm buried beneath 6 tons of concrete and I'm gonna die and transcend or whatever, And one of the girls in the background is walking around naked and they're watching like weird black and white movies about dogs, which is interesting. And he's like, well, I just wanted to say hi, I guess. It's like the most awkward, like, moment, because he's talking to this girl that's basically dead, right? There's no way to get her out, like, we don't even know where this tomb is. It's anywhere in the Hollywood Hills. It can be up in the mountains or whatever, right? And he's like, oh my God, he like blew up his own life on this quest to rescue this girl. And she wanted this the whole time.
There's something to rescue. He can't even get there.
And she did not want to be rescued. She had no interest in him. She was a prostitute. That was basically, she was a super prostitute that was used by this billionaire. Right.
Yeah.
So he goes back home and, his house he's evicted basically. The homeless guy comes back. The homeless king comes back.
Yeah.
Tells him, why do you have, go ahead.
You should say the homeless guy, the homeless king, kidnaps him because he's dumb enough to accept tea from these people in the tiki hut or whatever, and it's drugged and he passes out. He wakes up chained up by the homeless king, and he's like, "Are you gonna kill me?" And he just wants to know why he was carrying dog biscuits in his pocket. And I think part of it has to do with like that dog thing and how the dogs are the good guys and the coyotes are the bad guys, and the king's trying to feel out, is this guy a threat or not? And eventually he just decides to let him go. And he asks him again, are you going to kill me? He's like, I don't know, maybe, but definitely not yet. And like Sam is even sitting on his pistol and he lets him take the pistol. And like, it's just very bizarre. Like, wasn't that fun? Now get the hell out. Like enough playing games here, buddy. But
he goes, never talk about this.
Yeah, just never. Yeah, right. That was the only rule. Never talk about this. Like, you don't know anything. Then he goes home.
Or we'll kill you.
Ends up going home. And then what does he finally get the courage to do when he gets home? This I thought
he goes upstairs once again. He goes upstairs to the boomer bird lady, the topless boomer bird lady.
Topless bird lady.
Knocks on her door, and then they're in bed together. They're obviously just had sex.
Yeah, just knocks on the door.
And she says, she sniffs him and she goes, "Is that patchouli?" Right?
Yeah.
And everybody in the movie around him has been saying that he what's a horrible smell, but she likes it. She likes the skunk smell. Right. She's like, "Oh, is that patchouli?" Yeah. And then he comes out on a balcony and he looks at his house and he's looking at his apartment and the police are coming in to like evict him basically, and the landlord. And now there's the big hobo symbol, the 2 diamonds that says, be quiet. And he does the Stanley Kubrick face, like the Private Pile kind of like famous. And then the movie
the triumphant pose at the end.
Right. Now,
well, I think sorry, that part I thought was very funny because I said at the beginning that like he does kind of go on his hero's journey, and it's not very impressive, but at the beginning of the movie he's looking at topless bird lady. That's clearly what he's wanted the entire time. So he finally, after killing a guy and like doing all this stuff, he finally gets the courage to go hit up bird lady, which notice he gets her immediately. 0 effort. Right. Knock knock knock, done. And then he's watching,
she's just a boomer hippie.
And then he's watching them try to, basically it's his mom.
and then he's watching them try to evict him, and he has that smug look on his face because like he denied them the satisfaction of kicking him out of the house. He's like, "Ha! I got out before you could kick me out." You know, it's just like, dude. I guess he, ascended in his own way. Perhaps not the way we'd hope, but
and then the movie ends.
I don't know.
And it's really interesting. So what's interesting about this movie is that, first of all, while we gave a pretty good summary of the movie, we left out tons of parts, right? And this movie is about Twilight language. There's very many interpretations to this movie, and there's also secret codes, and there's entire websites devoted to like cracking down this code. So I'll tell you the main code in the movie real quick, right? So
all right,
at the beginning of the movie, right, when he walks into the coffee shop, if you look at the coffee shop, billboard or whatever, there's Morse code written. There's dots and dashes, but you're like, I have no idea, and you can't really translate it, right? And it's that if you translate the Morse code into letters, it's XJVO OJRY XERSU. It's completely like nonsense, right? So the Morse code translates into another code. Well, in the scene where he sees like that, oh, we're still looking for the billionaire, there's actually a ticker tape on the bottom of the news report that says strange graffiti all over the city, right? And you go throughout, like when he's chasing those girls around in the White Rabbit and stuff, you see the graffiti a bunch of times, and you also see the graffiti when he throws up, right? And it's in Copiala code, right? Copiala Codex was a weird like 19th century, yes, Mr. Majestic, that's under the Silver Lake, yeah. Copiala Code was a weird codex they found in the 19th century that was like completely like weird. It's like this weird occult like thing, and they finally translated it recently, and it's just weird initiations into this kind of occult society called the it's like an ophthalmology society. It was really weird, right? So anyways, you have your second clue, right? So you look at the graffiti and you use the Copiala code, which has been decoded, to translate the graffiti. The graffiti says coffee menu, right? You go to the Morse, you translate the Morse into letters, then you use Copiala code to translate those random letters, all right, into, and it says what the THRE words, right? Now, do you remember the billboard, the Great Gatsby billboard of his like girlfriend with the contact lens? At the bottom of that billboard, right, there is a little smaller billboard that says E equals double E, right? So you turn the E's in what three words into double E's, and now it says what three words, right, instead of what the words. What three words is a website, right? The website it's a real website. It's an app, right? And it's a geolocation app where you enter three words and it gives you a location, like anywhere on the planet, right? So check this out even more, right? The symbol, like the logo for what three words website, you can actually look it up. It's called what, the numeral 3 and words, right? .com or whatever, right? The symbol for them is 3 bars, right? Which is the bum code for not a safe place, right? So now the one time you see the bum code for not a place is when you go meet at the very end where like he finds like the people, like their location, right? So what that's telling you is that you need 3 words to find the location of the bunker that Sarah's in, right? So people were like really smart. So remember when we talked about the 3 dolls at the beginning in the room, the three dolls of Marilyn Monroe, right? Well, they all had zodiac words. Well, this is really interesting. The person that decoded the Copiala Codex, also, his name is Kevin Knight. You can look him up. It's fascinating, dude. He also decoded the zodiac letter recently. Right? So now you have a connection. So you're like, okay, there's 3 dolls, 3 words in zodiac code. You download you not download, you decipher the zodiac code for each doll, and it says Tombstone Sheriff entries, right? And this is kind of where it ends. So if you enter Tombstone Sheriff entries in the app, what 3 words, it takes you to this random place in the mountains of California. And
what's the 3rd word again? Tombstone Sheriff what?
Entries, right?
Entries.
And it's in the middle of nowhere, like kind of like north of Los Angeles. But people think it's the right answer because if you kind of zoom out, there's a peak called Sphinx Peak. And there's also a peak called Mitchell Peak. Mitchell is the name of the director, right?
Yeah,
and
I'm
this
looking at it right now.
Yeah, the point is right in between them. So people think that the solution is that is where the tomb that Sarah is buried in, that's where like she's at, right? So in a way, Sam had the answer to find her all along in the 3 dolls and everything right in front of him from the very beginning. He just didn't look hard enough. He didn't connect because the message wasn't for him. It was for her to where she would end up, right? Now people take it to a
Black
next
Ibis
level.
Road Trip, right? Black Ibis Road Trip. Is that what I'm feeling?
So the schizos on like Reddit and stuff also looked at Tombstone Sheriff and entries, right? And like, maybe those are not the actual words. Maybe those words point to other words. So people said that Tombstone, the one tombstone that you see very importantly is when he wakes up after the weird drug-induced haze, and he wakes up, and the first tombstone you see, and it kind of pans onto it, is what's his name? The director who did Citizen Kane, not Hitchcock. Citizen Kane.
Shoot, because Hitchcock that I was thinking of that one because like they really focus on that one like pretty heavily.
Right. Orson Welles. Right. Yeah. So it says Wells, right? So you're like, okay, maybe Tombstone refers to Wells. Sheriff. There's a Los Angeles sheriff deputy that comes to evict him, and she's nice to him and pans on her name tag. Her name tag is Brown, right? Or something like that, right? But nobody's figured out what entries could mean. So it's kind of stalled. Like nobody knows where, so either the solution is just the initial Tombstone Sheriff entries, or there's something else there that nobody's figured out in the last like 9 years, but like I said, the movie is filled with like all these kind of clues, right? Like little Twilight language. There's little symbolism, like the white rabbit. There's tons of stuff going on that's like really hidden behind. The soundtrack of the movie also is filled with like jokes and stuff. Not jokes, but like Easter eggs and stuff pointing to things, pointing to other movies.
When I was joking before the when I was joking before the show when the balloon girl's telling him, "Oh, there's nothing more to this. There's nothing going on," and then the song they dance to is "What's the Frequency, Can It?" by REM. I was like, "Come on!"
Right. So the question of the movie is, what does it mean? What does the movie mean? All right. So one way I take it is I think this is a millennial movie, and it really represents a kind of like, this is what the boomers did to us. Right. Yeah. We live in the boomers world because it starts with the boomer, his mom, and the naked booby lady, who are completely clueless women. His mom is just like, "Oh, honey, I've just sent you a VHS tape of blah, blah, blah." Right. And then it ends with a boomer, like he's returning to the soft bosom of a boomer. Right.
Yes.
And
he's returned back to boomerdom.
Right. And so there's that kind of element to it of like how we live in a world that the boomers made for us. And we live, instead of them giving us real culture or like real family and real stuff, they gave us pop culture. We live in the detritus of the boomer world, where we're still stuck on oldie stations playing the Eagles and the Doors and all this stuff. We can never escape the detritus of the boomer generation. And it's Satan, right? It's the songwriter, right? Now, do you think that he's the dog killer?
Well,
why does he have dog biscuits in his pockets, and why do dogs hate him?
Why is he like? Help explain what he's been up to since his girlfriend left him, and the reason he's about to get evicted. He's clearly been
Right.
up to something.
So
And also they heavily referenced Fight Club at a key moment. So the idea that he's living
right.
actually he probably is, because they reference Fight Club and they've got these breaks of time where you really don't know what he's been up to from
Right.
moment to moment. And all of a sudden it's nighttime, and all of a sudden it's daytime, and like he's shiftless bum. So yeah, he very well
Right.
could be. He probably is, because he's also not worried about the dog killer, but he's not cognizant enough to like really recognize what's to clue in that, oh my god, something's really gone wrong with him.
Do you want to hear my crazy theory?
Of course, absolutely.
So I think that not only is he the dog killer, dogs are actually women, and it's not dogs that are missing, it's women that are missing, and nobody's admitting it, because we have like completely like we are so desensitized as humans, as millennials, as Zoomers or whatever, to actual murder, that we don't care about women dead, but millennials care about their dog babies, their fur babies, right? So I think what we're talking about here is, his name is Sam, as in the son of Sam. What does the son of Sam talk to? A dog. The dog tells him to kill women, right? And he's angry. He's an angry, violent person, right? He's not
oh
a
yeah, he
wuss.
really is.
He and every moment of his anger comes from being rejected, right? He gets rejected by Sarah at the beginning. He doesn't get to sleep with her, so he beats the shit out of those kids, right? He has moments of like, they're like sexual in nature in a way, or scatological, like in a toilet, and
Yeah.
he is a schizo, obviously, right? I think what we're dealing with here is a werewolf versus vampires. I think that, yes, there is a complete, it is very good, Mr. Majestic, the book Son of Sam. I think that, but what I mean by werewolf and vampires, and I've said this a million times, right? I think, I don't think he murdered Sarah. I think that there is vampires, and by vampires, because you get the vampire theme a lot in this movie, with the Dracula and the brides and that kind of stuff, right? I think that the elite, the billionaires, are vampires. They're basically, they drain us, right? They drain the world, the decent world, for their own enjoyment, for their own, we're just playthings, right? We're like the shooting stars, basically like prostitutes. So you either play in their game, or you're relegated to being a bum on the sidelines, right? In Los Angeles, I've said this a million times, Los Angeles is a very evil place. It has very bad energy. Everybody that goes to Los Angeles that stays there ends up bad. I don't know anybody that like still lives there. That it's just a bad place. It fucking tears you up. It's something that David Lynch tells us in Mulholland Drive. It's something that David Lynch tells us in a Inland Empire. It's just a fucking horrible place. It's not good, right? And there's vampires, but Sam is not a vampire. He is basically a werewolf, right? He's a person that has become consumed by his passion. And the reason I say werewolf is because dogs hate werewolves, right? So they, and werewolves hate dogs. It's a kind of like a motif in werewolf movies, that werewolves always kill dogs, and coyotes also kill dogs. And coyotes have an evil, sinister vibe in this movie. And I'm pretty sure he didn't kill Sarah, but I think he killed Millicent in the water, in that scene with the bullets. I don't think the bullets are real. I think he's the one that killed her, and obviously posed her in his weird sexual fetish off the Playboy magazine, right? And he commits all this murder, and he doesn't even comment on it or anything like that. He never goes, "Oh, I just killed this guy playing the piano," or he doesn't do any of that. He doesn't care about that. He's a man. Like, yes, he was called the werewolf for a time. You're right, Matt. The Zodiac killer nicknamed the werewolf. So I think that basically Sam is a character. He's a millennial that is so drained of meaning in his life, because of his entire life is pop culture. He's wearing pop culture t-shirts. He lives in a film world, and he comes to LA and he's a failure. And we didn't mention this during our summary, but he obviously got dumped by his hot girlfriend, right? There's a scene where he
runs into her,
and she's the one, she's the one that's like, she's the one that's like on the billboard, and he obviously loved her, and he tells Sarah that like, oh, my girlfriend used to have a dog, right? But he hates dogs. He like even like mentions it, but he carries these dogs. Like there's a lot of shady stuff about him, right? I have a feeling that because he's in a way, he's the murderer, right? He's only hanging out with prostitutes. People around him end up dead. And I think that he even killed the comic guy to take the code. And in a way, this is a werewolf versus vampires kind of thing where he is the product of the Illuminati guys. Okay. He is the product of the, does that make sense?
It's the Illuminati. It's the Illuminati.
Well, like, I don't know, the powers that be, the billionaires, the ones that control like Hollywood, right? He is the side effect, right? He is the schizoid side effect. And in a way, that's why they let him live. In the same way, they let Charles Manson have so much power and live for so long and not put him away, because he's their child. He's their bastard child. He is a man completely deracinated by pop culture, and to the point where it fucking rotted his brain, and he lives in a world of comic books and violence. And there's a very werewolf scene, right, in the movie, which is after the whole Silver Lake incident where Millicent gets killed, which I'm pretty sure he killed her, right? You see him running naked into his house, and he wakes up naked. He wakes up naked, right? And that's when he solves the final puzzle, right? And it's a very repetitive motif in werewolf movies that they lose their clothes, right? They become like kind of like pagan sexual beasts, right? And then they wake up naked. And that's what happens to him. He loses his clothes, he runs home, wakes up naked, and then he solves the puzzle. He solves the final puzzle. But we know in the past, the impetus for him solving the puzzle was like a sexual or violent kind of orgastic kind of like occult magic. His weird jerk off scene with all like the fetishes, right, of the pictures and stuff.
Right.
Well, he just murdered Millicent in the pool, and she became his number one fantasy, the first thing he ever masturbated to, which was the picture of the magazine, right?
And she's the daughter of the dead billionaire.
And he's the daughter of the billionaire, and he wakes up and he solves the puzzle. So I think in a way that he is the fucking murderer, he is the dog killer, and the dogs aren't really dogs, they're women that he's murdering because of the girl. He lost the girl, which was his last connection to it, and he doesn't see clearly anymore. And there's moments where like the time is diluted in the movie, and it's can't be done because it's sloppy. It's done on purpose, right? And
the movie's clearly not sloppy by any stretch of the imagination.
So that's my theory, right? What do you think about that?
No, I mean, I think it sounds good. Having only watched it once myself. I'm definitely going to want to watch it again in the future, and perhaps it'll be interesting if we revisit this topic or revisit this film. But having watched it just the once, I mean, it all seems plausible. None of it seems, too out there. I like what you had to say regarding the werewolf thing, because that's when he's at like peak mental patient. I mean, he's literally running down the streets of Los Angeles naked with the only thing he's wearing is, it's not a medical bracelet, but if you glanced at it, that's what you would think it was. Right. So to me, I'm like, that's just Los Angeles, baby. Don't worry about it, And he's at that peak. He's at that peak, the peak of his powers. He's stripped away of everything.
Right. He's the outsider. That he's the ultimate werewolf, because the werewolf is always the vampire. Vampires are social creatures. Werewolves are forces of energy. They're like, and when I say werewolf, I don't mean like he turns into a wolf, right? And I think that all horror movies, you can break down almost every horror movie, right, into either a vampire or a werewolf, right? Every villain in any movie is either a vampire or a werewolf for the most part, right? Hannibal Lecter is a vampire, right? Yeah. Serial killers tend to be werewolves because they're outside of society.
Well,
they're hunting, right?
Yeah,
they're psychotic, they're animalistic and beastly, right? Vampires are your inside society characters, right? They're your corruption. They ate from vampires ate from the second tree in the Garden of Eden, right? We all ate, our original sin is to eat from the garden, from the tree of good and evil, right?
Yeah.
Which gave us retardation, right? And but there was another tree in the garden, if you remember, right, in Genesis, which was the tree of life, right? And God specifically tells Adam, right? I'm paraphrasing Genesis, right? He tells him, you cannot eat from the tree of life anymore because you will live forever in sin, right? So he's saying, if you eat, you're gonna become a vampire, bro, right? That's basically what we're talking about here. Because to live eternally in sin is to be a vampire, right? Is to be a wretched undead creature, that has no hope for salvation but eternal life. That's the worst fucking thing you can have, right? And there's some interesting things. What do you think about the rich people wanting to transcend?
I think the rich people wanting to transcend. Well, as a lot of this movie made me laugh to begin with, I thought the whole final reveal of what their grand conspiracy was hilarious, and it could only be done in such a way that like they are also somewhat detached from reality and detached from society. The one line the guy had when he says we're going to be buried like the pharaohs of old and all great men, and in 1,000 years they'll know that we were the kings of this society, right? That line made me laugh really hard because I said, dude, you're buried in a tomb in California that's going to get wrecked by an earthquake and no one's ever going to find it. Nice job. Great job, buddy. Good stuff. Because like with the pharaohs, they were able to do what they did because Egypt and the Nile River and the valley and all that is so stable and peaceful and regular. That's how they're able to do that. That's why the pyramids are still there. That's why their society and their empire lasted for thousands of years, and why they have all these myths and all these ideas that focus on the longevity of the Egyptian pharaohs.
Right, but even them, right? Even they didn't transcend.
No, and they didn't transcend. So, like, these guys. I mean, of course, they're boomers. They're pretending they can do it. They're throwing on the mask, and it's stupid. It's just stupid enough that the reason this guy's never been able to make another movie is because he nailed it. That these elites and these people are retarded enough to think that this is going to work. I mean, that just makes me laugh. It's like, it's probably exactly what's going on.
Right. And it goes back to our pagan conversation from last week. This is exactly what you get. You get people that are so empty because their entire life is pop culture, completely disenchanted, right? And they, embrace weird insanity, right? Just power. Like they make a religion to match their own personalities because they're like, oh, I'm rich, therefore I'm a king.
They are completely at the mercy of the songwriter,
right? The passions.
They're completely powered. Yeah, exactly. They're which that's all the songwriter really represents is the passions. Because what is more passionate than music? I mean, pull the heartstrings on everybody, easy peasy, like we discussed. I think another thing with this, it makes me laugh because as you've discussed, like especially when you were talking about how like Los Angeles is just a bad place, we're having a bit of a Gatsby moment here, right? Because at the end of the book, Nick goes back home to the Midwest. He's like, you guys can just have it. He's like, I'm done with this stuff. Especially that conversation he has with Tom at the end of the book, where he initially doesn't even want to shake the guy's hand. He's like, you know why I don't want to shake your hand? In my mind, Nick really he's like, I'm going home. I'm out of here. And it's funny to me watching this movie and hear you talk about it like as an Ohioan, deep in my Puritan blood, I just want to drop a nuke on Los Angeles and be done with it. Like this place is ridiculous. Burn it with fire and salt the fields and let it never rise again for 500 years. Carthage delenda est. Like that's kind of where I'm at with that. But anyway,
you see, one of the things that people, when we talk about religion, they don't realize is that we do have a pagan religion. We have pagan priests. It's from Hollywood. Hollywood is all ritual, right?
Yep.
Because
the rituals of humiliation, the sexual stuff, the hierarchies, and man, 100%.
But it goes further than that, right? And this is what this movie is illustrating in a way, right?
Yeah.
in ancient times, in pagan times, right? You had rituals around the fire, right? It was always dark and there's always light, as in the fire. And you would have, what did the shaman do? The shaman in almost all cultures would put on costumes like masks, right? Where they're, they would act things. They would, the shaman would become the wolf because he'd wear pelts in like Nordic kind of cultures, right? Or they would reenact these rituals, and later that turned into actual sexual sacrifices and sexual rituals, right? And also human sacrifices that also involved a lot of sexual like violence and sexual humiliation and that kind of stuff, right? So you have darkness, light, and acting, right? Like the shamans became those
They became
gods
the
in a way,
storytellers,
right?
not just the songwriters, but
Right,
the storytellers, and that's
right.
that's who
And
rules in a pagan religion. The storytellers.
but what did these guys do? They shaped the culture, right?
Yeah.
But now we live in a world where you and I go to church liturgy every Sunday, right? But guess what? We've
Yeah.
gone to liturgy a lot more times than you have recently, because you've walked into a dark room, right? That projected what the eye saw, which was a camera, and you were told the narrative, right? I'm a writer and we talked about fiction a lot, but unfortunately the novel is a dying form, right? Because the critical artistic form of the 20th century and the 21st century is the film, right? The film, which
video.
it is the world through an artificial eye projected by light. It's magic, dude. It's projected by light, and you sit in a church in a dark room with other people and you laugh, you cry, you get angry, you feel excited, you feel aroused, you feel like sexually like titillated, right? And you do it with other people, just like in a church, and you feel emotions with other people, but these emotions and these feelings are manufactured by people for you. And the film world has controlled our very existence our entire life. Think back on your life. Almost every reference you make is probably to a movie. Movies from Indiana Jones to Jurassic Park, Forrest Gump, Saving Private Ryan, Die Hard, all the movies that we grew up with, all the movies that are, they shaped our culture. They told us what to think about things, right? Everything you know about Los Angeles comes from what Los Angeles tells you. Ironic that there's not a lot of Los Angeles movies, huh?
Yeah.
Right? They don't really show you a lot of Los Angeles in movies. They don't tend to like doing that. They don't like to show you their homes in movies, right? They're always set somewhere else. But the priests of this religion, the ultimate pagan religion that is the real one, not the fake LARPing stuff you do at Renaissance Fair or whatever. Sorry, guys. The real pagan religion, we go to it willingly every Friday night, and we send our kids, and we let our kids come to it, and we take part in a 2-hour liturgy where somebody gives us ideas through this medium, right? And that's what this movie is telling you. That's what they told Sam, is that these messages, they're meant to shape your life, and they did shape your life. How many of us walk around with Star Wars shirts, right? Just like Sam, right? Or we'll refer to our the moral code of Star Wars as our moral code, like the rebels. I mean, we see this in all the retards on Substack, right? Like, look at the
100%.
boomers. Look at the boomers and the way they post. They live in a completely fantasy world created by them through the mythology of 1969 Hollywood and all these it's all fake and gay, dude, right? Like we like cereal boxes have stories that we subsume everything. It's like, it's in a way, it's sacred. It's all sacred objects, but they're made by fucking Satan, so they're trash, right? They're empty. They're just tissue paper. We've replaced real sacred objects, real meaning, with this tissue paper, like the songwriter says, you blow your nose with it and throw it in the wind, right? And it's there for us, man. Like, we grew up like Sam.
We grew up like Sam, and I've noticed a change. I've noticed a change where maybe probably before this, but when I was much younger, you at least had this idea out there that people watched film, but you recognized that people are trying to communicate ideas to you. You watched it with a critical eye. Or if you went to go see Star Wars, you knew it's fucking Star Wars, right? It's a good time. Yeah, the pew pew, it was great. It was I got the dopamine rush. It was fantastic. But you didn't build any kind of serious worldview based on it. That was crazy because it's fantasy. It's not reality. People remembered that. Now we've gotten to a point, and this is probably where video games come into it. Folks forget that those are fantasy, not reality. And you have entire generations of people that have grown up playing computer games where the games bleed over into real life. Anybody out there that's ever played a massively multiplayer online game, something like Eve, for example, or Warcraft, or any of that stuff, I mean, that shit spills out of the game big time. Just look at the forum wars and like all the crazy stories that you hear about like people literally going after each other in real life over this shit, right? So you've now got this substrate or this new infrastructure that's built on this fantasy, and now you have generations growing up in it that never do any better. Like, this is the thing with millennials, and I think Sam is a good example of somebody who failed to negotiate or failed to hang on to himself as humanity goes through this liminal space, this doorway into something new. He's someone that fails because he forgets that it's fantasy, and violence is, in my mind, that is the rational response to all this. My entire life has been made by, I've been on strings for this. It makes complete sense that he beats the shit out of all these people, that he starts murdering people, or he starts doing it because he's just doing anything to try to get out of it. He's completely gone over, the deep edge, and I can completely see why. But I think the thing is that we're with video and with COVID especially, and how isolated and limiting people have gotten, we're going to be getting into this world where it's going to get fucking crazy, even more so than it already is. Because like we've already seen, there's going to be no ability to see fantasy for reality. And, movies up until this point, yeah, they were pushing it this way. But I think there was a critical mass of people that realized these are movies. This is entertainment. This isn't church. This isn't real life. Right. But we're losing that. And you, right. I've heard it said before, and I'll tie off my rant with this, but I've heard it said before that one of the fundamental issues is going to be between the digitals and the reals. And I think whatever kind of civil conflict may or may not develop or continue to develop in the United States, it's going to be along those lines. You're going to see it's going to look urban and rural and red versus blue, but it's really digitals versus the reals. And the digitals will not have a handle on what real life is, but the things they do and the things they decide will have impacts on the real world. You see what I mean? So that is incredibly dangerous. I mean, it's going to make the Soviet Union look like fucking paradise. So anyway, and there's the dog barking. See, I'm correct. Dog knows I'm right. Yeah. Well, timing. But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, so I think we covered everything. Real life has become more interesting, and here's the thing: Sam is a person. The problem is that we have. Sorry, guys. I gotta yell at my dog real fast. The problem is we have a generation of people, including us, that grew up as the main characters in a video game. And that's what we grew up with, right? We are the main characters. And that's what happened to Sam. He got caught up. He went down, he wanted to be, Link. He went on a Link quest, basically. Everything, like if you look at the way he pieces the puzzles together, the way he goes places, he even crawls through a pipe, basically. It's very much like, very much like, like a quest. He goes into a cave and all this stuff. He invented a fantasy video game life instead of really doing what he really should be doing,
Having a
which is
normal
pay his fucking rent, bro. Take care of your girlfriend, because he had a great girlfriend. He just, because he wanted to be the main character. He wanted meaning, right? And the main characters don't even want to be main characters. They want to be gods. Even they have no satisfaction, right? They're just fucking losers. And the girl he chased after and basically almost threw his life away for, she wasn't Zelda. She wasn't Princess Peach. She was a prostitute. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And
paid to put on airs, paid to play a role.
But now we're going to have a generation growing up even worse than the millennials. They're going to grow up not even as main characters, but they're going to grow up with an AI telling them what to do every day. And that is fucking terrifying, right?
100%.
If living in a world subsumed by pop culture leads you to become a crazy werewolf, what is living in a world subsumed by AI? What is that going to look like? And that's why we have to destroy it. It has asked, we have to take the Stratocaster we have to take Kurt Cobain's guitar and smash the AI, because it's going to be a dark world. It's going to make us slaves. But
yes, we don't mean to alarm you, Anon, but we have to kill the internet.
Yeah, we have to kill the internet. But because the people that are going to be fine are going to, you know what's fine? The coyotes. All right. The coyotes, man. All right. And the coyotes are evil. They're liars. They're devious creatures, right? In Native American, beliefs, the coyotes, the first creature to tell a lie. All right. And they win because the coyotes are basically the billionaires and we're just dogs. We're just there, family, loyal to each other, blah, blah, and you got to watch out for the freaking coyotes, man. All right. Because there's a dog killer out there. All right, guys. I think this was a great episode. I really enjoyed it. For you guys listening,
man. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much for listening. And I really recommend this movie. Like I said, I have an entire notebook of like crazy secrets. Every T-shirt in this movie that somebody wears, right, is actually a code. There's a code in almost every T-shirt, right, that you can decode. There's probably tons of codes we haven't found yet. David Roberts Mitchell, the director, has not released any of the secrets. He hasn't said one word about it, and I hope he keeps it that way. Ooh, thunder, lightning.
Clearly, what I'm excited about before you wrap it up, I think, Alex, that we need to encourage folks to convert to paid subscribers so you and I can take a pilgrimage to the site of this bunker and masturbate onto Playboys. So I feel like that's something. I'm kidding.
Vintage Playboys and
yes, vintage Playboys, of course. Yeah, absolutely.
Matt, the movie is Under the Silver Lake.
Under the Silver Lake.
Yeah, it's a great movie. It's a great movie.
Just as a quick side note too, folks, I definitely appreciate the folks that have. This has been our most active chat, I think, since we started doing this live thing. So, whatever platform you've on, I've enjoyed seeing the comments immensely. So, anyway,
Matt, I always pick weird movies that are kind of like on the edge. Like that's where I like that. Sorry, just thunder outside and my dog's freaking out. It's it needs to listen to the hobo code of be quiet. But we will be back live on Wednesday at 5:00, same time.
Yep.
We're going to be doing an interview episode with Jack from the Book Club from Hell. We're going to talk about his book Tower, which is a great little short book. It's also kind of schizophrenic, so we're kind of on a theme. And we're going to do that. We have a guest next week. It's going to be great. And we're going to just keep going every single week. I like the idea of doing everything as live shows because it does create that kind of cool radio program.
Yes,
like
sir.
We're not a podcast to tell you stuff. We're not selling you anything. We're not like, this is a conversation podcast. We're more of a talk show. Okay. We should probably call ourselves the Black Ibis Social Club talk show. That's what we do.
They're turning the fucking dogs gay.
They're turning the dogs gay. Remember, guys. So good night, guys. Tune in 2 days on Wednesday at 5 p.m. Protect your dogs. All right. Because beware of the dog killer. All right.
Beware of the dog killer.
Remember, everything is fake and gay. Good night, guys.